I strut over them, no fear, just pure glam. I'm a working man. I get my bag and I'm out. I ain't here for no drama. Hey, mama, didn't know about that karma. It is my universe. Hey, I got cards up in my sleeve and you never heard. Hey, of a mystery man like me, it's a lonely curse. Hey, when you wake up from a dream and everything you see is what it used to be. Now breathe, 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 breathe. I got cards up in my sleeve and you never heard. Of a mystery man like me, it's a lonely curse. Hey, when you wake up from a dream, and it is all cap, they don't rap. Say what you mean, get it out of your chest. Hey, you walking on eggshells, shaking and shivering, young hater, better give me your best. Say what you mean, ain't no flex in my team, ain't no fake cedar. Don't you know what I be? Royal blood, I'm elite. Say what you mean, get it out of your chest. Hey, you walking on eggshells, shaking and shivering, young hater, better give me your best. Say what you mean, ain't no flex in my team, ain't no fake cedar. Don't you know what I be? Royal blood, I'm elite. From head to toe, all comatose. I gotta let you know. Booty call. All my other friends, they tell me that I'm beautiful. If you want me, I can meet you in the interval. Give you an education, take you straight back into school. It's cool. So I'm telling you, when I shoot my shot, I'll move you like a cannonball.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Red Bull High Grounds. Yes, sorry about the short delay. We had some security protocols that we had to follow. But look, it is time to jump on back into the action. It's time for fun. I've got Timmy, I've got Xenox. We've got a lot to get through. And of course, because we've had that little delay, there is going to be an update to the format. We're no longer playing 6 games. We're going into 4 just to try to catch up the schedule. So as you can see, it's changed. That first game we were playing, it's void. It's gone. Don't worry about it. Map number 1, it's going to be 0 build. Map 2 is going to be 0 build, and then build for 3 and 4. So that's where we're going, and the game's not too far away.
No, we won't be hopefully waiting too much longer to get into what will be, I guess, officially Map 1. And I like the fact that we can at least kind of keep it nice and even. We get 2-0, we get 2 build. Everyone also is still on that sort of fresh slate. So obviously it's been a bit of a delayed start to me, but we're going to get there nevertheless.
Yeah, and people had a bit of a warm-up. We heard some people doing some good things at the end of that voided game there. So the players are warm and they're ready to go, that's for sure. Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. A lot of action going through that one. And look, it's great to see that everyone is bringing their A game for Red Bull High Grounds. But of course, to crown that champion, we've got to get into the game. And we'll quickly just go over everything we did, just in case you've forgotten. It's been a little while now. Let's talk about the point system one more time, how it's going to work. Of course, it's even more chance of a comeback and more tiebreakers. Now we've only got 4 games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've only got the 4 matches now. So, yeah, low-scoring point system, but obviously a very small amount of games to be played. And I think it actually now puts an emphasis on doing well in these 0 builds, because you only get the 4 games, 2 of which obviously 0 builds. So even more so now, Timmy, I think if you can start well, get some really good points on the board, build up those eliminations, if you can max out, get 6 points, if you can get to 12 points after 2 0 build games, you're putting yourself in the best position going into the build. So that's going to be the goal now for these teams. Starting well, so important.
Yeah, and I think again it emphasises that V word, versatility. You've got to be able to do it well across all 4 games, across both game modes. But looks like we'll be ready to hop in pretty soon here.
It seems like the first game of Red Bull High Grounds is about to get underway. We're jumping back into no build. We're jumping back into Fortnite. Red Bull High Grounds, who's going to be your champion? Who bloody knows, but we're about to find out. Xenox, Timmy, take us into it.
All right, back into round 1 we go. Second time's the charm. Hopefully we can get to a conclusion here. And obviously, when we kicked things off last time, we said, yeah, it's going to be a bit slow going. I think a lot of that mantra will stay true the same here as well. But those that maybe want to get a little bit more eager to me, want to maybe branch out, try and find those eliminations towards the mid-game. Circles, 4 and 5, for example, when it starts to really start shifting, if you can get those eliminations building up, it's nice and early points on the board. No hot drops from what I can see at the POIs. Everyone's, again, wanting to play this one rather safe.
Yeah, and I wonder if the shortened format will lead to a bit more aggression. You talk about the need to make sure you're getting consistency across all 4 games, make sure you put some points on the board. Are we going to see a few people get aggressive in game 1 here to try and solidify at least 3 points from those 7 elims?
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen right off the bat. Not right now. Everyone's just going to loot up, try and find, obviously, as much of the utility as possible. But I think the aggression will have to come through. I don't think you can just kind of sit back and wait for things to happen. You need to build up the points. It's only 4 matches. So if you get 0 points here in this first match, it's a long way back already. Obviously, the one good thing would be the fact that if those that do well, they can't get a super high amount of points. With the cap at 7 eliminations, no one's going to go absolutely massive, but still you don't want to find yourself on the back foot early with only so few games to follow after this. So yeah, very curious to see if that does eventuate. I mean, we did see a little bit of aggression when we did see some action, obviously, in our voided first game. Anyone that could kind of get that high ground, when we kind of saw them start to get a bit aggressive. We saw it from Laserbeam, we saw it from Lachlan, so I'm imagining it'll play out pretty similar.
Yeah, and we saw actually a really good example of how zero build fighting works. We saw in terms of controlling an important position in a fight, holding a high ground, and then looking for a pinch, looking for some different angles and try to get some damage from multiple angles. So a really well-played fight that we saw from Lachlan and Jace taking down Luda's team. So we'll look to see more of that. It's a lot about that map control, that high control. But first zone's there, like we said, the zone changes only, now we've got from 9 zones, we've gone to 12. So first zone, nothing really that these guys have to worry about. Just got to get their loot up and look to start making a move to a high ground position.
And the other thing with the fighting as well, right, in terms of where it differs from build, is that close quarter combat. Right?
Exactly.
You can't build and edit and get close to these people and try and get the pump shotty into their face. You kind of just want to try and take those peak fights. With the Porta Forts especially, if you've got any kind of cover, it's kind of a little bit more peaky rather than that aggressive, I'm going to push up, I'm going to edit, I'm going to try and get build space. We're not going to probably see that, obviously, until the build's mo. But we did see those Porta Forts. We saw, obviously, the different means of transportation for a lot of these players. Sling shooters, you've got the skis, you've got the vehicles. There's a whole different ways in which you can traverse the map. And we saw it not just for actually rotating or moving around the map, but also for getting out of fights where maybe you haven't quite got the upper hand.
Exactly right. So there's the new Spider-Man movements, the Spidey slingers, but then there's also still the ODM gear in the game, which you see Lockie has there. Is we get some eyes on Realms, and another thing to point out, we didn't quite see how too often, but the shield bubbles that Realms has in his middle slot, that combined with a car, you can actually throw the shield bubble onto a car, and you've got essentially a moving shield item. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look to play. In terms of your rotation, you've got cars, you've got the web slingers, you've got ODM gear. There's plenty of ways to move about the map. It's mainly about where you move on the map. Yep. It's about your strategy. It's about picking a good rotation, a good site, making sure you don't have sight lines on you. So it really does come down to the strategy and how you're going to approach the movement rather than the movement you choose itself.
And don't forget, of course, if you do find yourself a vehicle or two, you can use those for cover. So in especially a mode where cover can be quite a bit of a scarce quantity, you can actually aim to bring those vehicles into the action. And early days here, but some long-range snipes, some information from It's Jacko. One of the amateurs, one of the up-and-coming pros, obviously along with Kazi and Lucifer at CLJ. They were actually one of the first teams eliminated in the Voided match, so they'll get a second opportunity here to bounce back a little bit, especially for Kazi, who's a big fan of the zero build mode. Circle 2, again, really isn't going to change anything too much.
No, it's a relatively easy rotation for all the teams. A couple teams from the south that might have to move. You got Anon and his team down south there that have to make a little bit of a move. Not too much, but I was chatting to Worthy over the break, and he was saying he was feeling good.
Really?
He was rocking and ready to go. The part of the game that we missed when the broadcast finished, we were looking at, apparently he had 7 elims on the board by himself. So that hitting 3 points by himself.
That's what a lot of the pros are capable of doing, right? I think a lot of the pros here are certainly capable of racking up their fair share of eliminations. Just some chip damage here going out from Vortex over the distance, the gap here of the terrain, but nothing too much to really come from it. Obviously has absolutely plenty of shields available in that inventory. We'll pound on over here towards the Storm, actually down the very, very southern end of the map. And Jitsu crossing, we've got Foss's team, and they've got themselves a vehicle on the rotate. They can go out of the Storm on up towards north, towards the center of the zone. They got to pick up Chuck, and they'll make their way and get on the move. And the other thing as well, with sort of the time that has elapsed here as well, Timmy, I think for any of the players, especially maybe any of the pros, that sort of first time on land jitters, I think that might have evaporated a little bit with the break.
Absolutely. So, and they've already had that game of experience. They already know what it feels like to be playing with a crowd, to be playing with people all around you and having that pressure of playing for that kind of money over a short span of time. Obviously, the span of time is now shorter, but they sort of understand the pressure that comes with it. So hopefully a few less jitters, like you said, and we're going to see the best of the best play to the best of their potential.
That's what we want. That's hopefully what we're going to get. And again,
some nice shots from
but
Luda.
Luda there, absolutely chunking NJ there, and he's depleted his shields, and that's also really good damage because, yeah, doesn't find the elimination or doesn't even find a knock, but that takes a little bit of Luda's utility away from him, doesn't have as many meds, he has to obviously shield on up, Campfire goes down, so, you know, that's just, unfortunately for Luda's team now, and for NJ's team, they're not going to have that for the later stages of the game now.
Exactly right, and do keep in mind we are playing zero build, so everyone in zero builds gets their overshield. So 50 shield that has to be taken down before they start actually biting into that shield that you're going to have to use to replenish. But in the feed there, I think I've seen Radius go down to Tucklebuckle. So Tucklebuckle and Jinx, team respectful chonkers, getting themselves involved with Musalk's team.
Have you run into Tuckle yet?
I have, yeah, no, he's a wonderful, wonderful gentleman.
That's good.
Great to chat to.
19 months sub, almost 20 months sub now for you, mate. So there you go, big fan. Let's go to circle number 3. It does kind of shift a little over towards Anvil Square, which is where Fastbee's team is currently located. And obviously, as we continue to shrink, teams are finding that this edge play is becoming quite prominent. You can kind of see towards the north end especially. So everyone's just kind of pushing in with the storm rather than pushing in towards the center of the circle.
And we got an attempted reboot, but that tells Jinx and Tucklebuckle that there is potentially a couple elims available here. Musalk taking some damage from Jackie. Jackie putting the pressure on along with Jinx here. Musalk tries to pop the shield, but it's not going to work. Musalk will be going down here. Jinx picks up another one. We could be looking at the first point on the board here in the restart.
Yeah, it's 2 eliminations, so only 1 more, unfortunately, for Musalk's team. It is down to just Realms, no Radius either. We'll see whether or not maybe the reboot could still come through, but you would imagine Jinx's team will deny that from happening here.
Oh, Realm surviving just there. Snipe from Jinx just missing. But if I'm Jinx and Tucklebuckle, I'll be looking to get really aggressive here. They know it's a solo. You can jump on them in zero builds. There's not so much that clutch potential because you don't have a way to protect yourself other than the surroundings. And the amount of damage you have to put out is exponential because, again, you've got that 50 overshield you have to take down. It's not just 200 HP for every player. Yep. It's 250 HP. But this was actually the first team to go down in our other game. Fall from Grace and Cody and Luda. Not having such a bad start here. They're actually looking in a pretty decent little spot, going up against Chances, Luna, and Vortex here, but they're controlling a nice high ground position here.
Yeah, just a little bit of chip damage on that overshield, which is just going to regenerate anyway. So really, it's more just the sort of, hey, I'm here kind of shot, rather than the full contact engagement, which may come sooner rather than later, though, depending on how these teams want to rotate. It's dependent probably on circle number 4 to come in the next minute and a half. So, again, probably not anticipating a whole lot to come from this third phase. Circle shift, again, a bit of chip damage from Luna onto that overshield. Just keeps it in check, making sure. And that one, I think, might have actually done a little bit more damage than just that as well from Luna, Chances, and Vortex's team. Again, though, when you think about zero build, it's a lot harder to close the gap. It's a lot harder to sort of get over to your opponent. So you want to just kind of keep your ground a little bit. You don't want to put yourself in a bad position. So they're just kind of keeping their distance, just getting some chip damage in, and not wanting to do a whole lot more right now.
Yeah, and I've got access to the map there. And it looks like we've got a reboot from Realms and Radius, so we've got that full team back up. So that's a good sign from them. Losing a couple players early, but Realms doing a nice job there to find some sort of reboot card and get a reboot off. So that's a great sign for Radius and Musalk, one of the fan favourites here today. But got 35 seconds, about 30 seconds here until we see Zone 4 come through, and that'll be a big deciding factor on where the zone will end up for all these teams that are going to have to make this rotation.
Yeah, and again, you can kind of just see on the minimap as that storm comes in, that's where you're seeing Kazi and Co moving with it. Loser Fruit's team, CLJ, they're not looking to go beyond that. They're just making sure that they're just kind of hugging that storm. They're not wanting to go too deep into the circle, and you can probably see it there on the map. Really, outside of Fastbee's team in Anvil Square, no one is really looking to get center of zone right now, not this early on. Everyone just wants to play for the late game, make sure they don't overspend the supplies that they've got. And this one continues to head over towards that lake south of Anvil Square. So this is where it can get quite interesting if that water becomes a factor.
Look at those northern teams. There's going to be a lot of interaction there. That'll be Loser Fruit, Vinduli, and I'm pretty sure not too sure that other pink team up the top there, but that's another one of these teams that might be getting engaged as we move south here.
A couple of jumbled up letters in that little combination for them. But you're right. I mean, obviously, you've got 3 different teams all going to probably looking to be pushing in the same location from the north towards the south side, pushing eventually in closer towards Ample Square. Still a lot of teams as well around the rest of the map. As Jackie is coming back for more. Obviously, for Jinx and Taco Buckle, they've already done a couple of eliminations onto this team of Radius and Koa. They want to get them a couple more times, and they will. Radius will fall without really much of a contest. No real help from Realms, and he's once again a solo. I don't think they were able to get the reboot onto Muselk. He never came back through. So Realms finds himself in the same position, but this time I don't imagine Taco Buckle's team is going to allow him to escape.
No, it looks like Realms is going to be playing as slow as he can here, but he is in Storm, so every second he spends in here, he's going to be taking damage, and they will be engaging on him here, and Taco Buckle will take him down. That is the 4th elim for this team. We've got our first points on the board here, Xenox.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's our first team. Siphon and Joy as Realms, Muselk, and Radius eliminated here for match 1. They get no points at all from this game, Timmy. Nothing. Only 3 more matches after this. And it really speaks to the importance of doing well early. They're on 0 points. There's going to be so many other teams now ahead of them for probably the foreseeable part of the day, unless they can respond pretty quickly in match number 2. As we head back over to It's Jacko, Kazi, and Loserfruit. Of course, they went out rather early too in that Voided game, so they'll be wanting to do a little bit better here, keeping it slow. They're one of the trio teams up towards the north side. And talk about high ground.
Yeah, talk about high ground. These guys, Mal, Alec, and Jackson, Team Flobby, up on the island. So if you guys aren't aware, the island is where you're going to find the pulse rifles, which is probably the strongest rifle in the game at the moment. Obviously, with the red dot, or the red eye, as people like to call it, you're going to have a bit more accuracy, but the amount of damage that the pulse rifle puts out is second to none. So looks like we're going to see Jackson take that, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see Alec take it as well. A couple of straight shooters. As looks like we're going to so this was the other pink team that we're going to see from the north side that are going to have to rotate around Cyfek, Worthy, and Lufu and Kazi. So looks like it'll be Jupiter, Oasis, and Volks from the north side here. We've got another couple of seconds before we see Zone 5 appear, and we have to see our next set of rotations. But you see how slow they're playing on edge here.
Yep.
Everyone taking it very easy, trying to not engage, using natural cover where they can. No one wants to engage at this stage because they know if they lose out on the fight, they're looking at 0 points, and with a four game format, we're looking at a rough one. Oh, Zone 5. That is rough for those north side teams. That is a long rotation. And put in perspective as well, you've got Anvil Square to rotate past as well. You've got to go past Tui. You've got to go past Talon. 2 very good, very straight shooters. You've got to try to rotate past that from the north. That's going to be a really tough assignment.
I mean, you can do the math visually with your eyes. You can see that there's so many teams up towards the north. They all can't just fit in together, pushing in nice and comfy in towards that next circle. There's going to be some fights that will eventuate very soon here, courtesy of Circle 5 and the hard shift that comes with it. We'll see how teams want to rotate, if they want to push in very late with the storm, or maybe try and get towards the front a little bit, get in early, rather than being on the edge of it. Because one thing is, if you come in too late, you can get stuck fighting in the storm, and that really does chunk even more damage. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to move a little bit earlier.
You know who's going to be stoked? Taco Buckle, Jinx, Jackie Bunny. They're going to be stoked. Look at how isolated they are at that bottom left portion of the map. There is no one around them. With already 4 elims on the board, 1 point on the board, I think they're looking like a real favourite for this game so far.
Yeah. Remember, of course, you need 3+ eliminations to get first points. You need to make top 10 as well to get some placement points. Some fights happening here. Only 1 team has been eliminated of the 15, so still 4 more teams will be eliminated, and they will not get any placement points unless they've got some elimination points. They'll get nothing.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Worthy now on to Luda, and he's already cracked him. Now can he get a response? The tree, that's a little bit of cover. That's at least something. And some damage back onto Worthy. Does send him packing. He doesn't want to overcommit. Doesn't want to get overzealous. He's actually been forced back. Nicely done from Luda, considering the pressure that was put on him. He's done well.
And now they've hopped in the car, and it looks like Luda, Fall from Grace, and Cody are going to be disengaging here. Beautiful defensive play. You see the way that Luda used the tree. And this is the difference between builds and zero builds. It's about your movement. It's about the way that you can play around peaks and angles. Luda playing that beautifully, forcing Worthy to disengage, and hopefully means that both teams can survive and look to make this rotation to the north side half here for the first half. And I talked about Tuckle Buckle and Jinx being happy.
Jinxed them.
I jinxed them. They've got to go a whole way through the north side of zone, and a lot of teams to rotate through here. Skits. And I think I see Skits on top of the mountain here as well. We've got quite a few teams who have to make a rotation here. There's going to be a rough rotation for a lot of teams.
Oh, 100%. Obviously, it's a slight reprieve for those northern teams coming in from the snow. Finally, they don't have to move as far. They didn't have to. And I guess this is also the other thing as well with pushing too early, too quick on a circle like 5, for example. You don't want to overstay your position. So we'll see how things can trickle along now, because all those southern teams will finally have to start rotating. The good news for them, they haven't done a lot of fighting until now.
Yeah, but keep an eye on this team here. Like I said, the amount of damage output that this pulse rifle does is astounding. If you've got a couple of these pulse rifles and you're going to shoot into a bush that you see that Kazi is in, this could spell disaster for Kazi, Loserfruit, and Jacko.
Storm is moving, it's on the move, and everyone has to go with it. If you're not inside of that circle by the end of it, it is going to do some significant damage. You can see here already with Jacko, 2 damage per tick. It is going to start to hurt, and Paladin Ember is on the rotate with her team.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, this is also still only a 2-tick zone, so you can move out into zone if you need to. And it looks like we've got a couple of players who have decided to disengage, try and avoid as many fights as possible, and tank some storm damage. And that's what I was talking about, the amount of slow play, the strategy involved with some of these rotations, because you can't build your own structures to keep away damage. It comes down to the way that you move and finding ways to get out of lines of sight.
And the only downside with that being is it does mean you come into these positions late, so you're not quite going to get the best positions, if there are any. And I guess a position here like Anvil Square, but you can get towards the top end of these buildings. You can see Alex's team, they've got kind of the top of the castle. That's at least something you can kind of look down upon. Whereas Talon here, you can kind of see just hiding behind a rock on the floor,
Jinx
on
down.
the shorelines. This is where you can get kind of abused a little bit from above, but there's no teams near them, fortunately. So they're just kind of peppering these teams in towards Anvil Square. That was Jackie that's been knocked down. Goggins, that's Tui, I was going to say Goggins, Tui, also getting involved. So they're fortunate, whereas Fastbeat's team didn't overcommit. They actually moved out of Anvil Square when everyone else moved in.
And keep an eye on what Tui's got in his inventory there. 2 bunkers. No, 4 bunkers,
4.
Which means the amount of cover he has to utilize going into these last zones is immense. They're going to have a lot of control. Even if they don't control the hills, they're going to be able to create their own cover without having to rely on natural stuff.
And they did just get the next circle shift as well, so they're already ahead of the curve now.
Great shots from Muti.
Muti hitting a couple, and he spots the shield down below, the big bubble of Devil X's team, moving close by everyone. We've actually haven't had a whole lot of eliminations until just then. Mao very quickly knocked and flushed as well, instantaneously. Another elimination after some pretty much posturing from a lot of these teams in Anvil Square. Now they all have to leave, but no one has really overcommitted to me. Everyone wants to just kind of just sit back, play defensive. No one's making that aggressive move.
And there's still a lot of rotation to come. The zone is starting to close here, so we're going to see a lot of these northern teams up by Anvil Square start to engage here. We've got Cody engaging here with Chanzes. Beautiful shots from Chanzes. Vortex now engaging as well. Grace goes down. Cody goes down. Ludi goes down. Vortex, Luna, and Chanzes on the board with 1 point.
That's what happens though when you can get aggressive, back yourself in. If those that are just sort of defending and sitting in the bunker aren't really going to show much face and not be that aggressive back, they're just going to get absolutely wiped that quickly. We saw it from Chances. And yeah, there goes Alex. Suns falls as well pretty quickly at the hands of Jackson. No surprise, we're going to be seeing that kill feed light up over the next few minutes.
And here are the controller players themselves. Spiker, Fisher getting involved here. Lockie getting involved with Spiker. Lockie trying to put up a fight, but Spiker takes him down. Looks like Fisher, Devilique, and Spiker putting on a show here.
Down to just 12 teams, so the next 2 teams to be eliminated will walk away with no placement points from this match. Spiker, at least that's 1 elimination for their team now acquired. 2 more will get them on the board and put them closer to also getting into the top 10. Tuckle Buckle, he's also gone as well. Same with Venduli, he's been knocked down too. And they're all going to just start to trickle down.
Yeah, top 29, and the use of the flare gun there, so that actually shows people who are around you. So he might get some information about who's around them. As I see who went down there, that was Venduli and Worthy. They are gone from this game. We've got first moving got 10 seconds before first moving starts. Spiker, Fisher have to move a long way, so does Pumpkin and Overstrand.
And they were the 11th team. So
they
were on the cutoff, they were on the bubble. Unfortunately, no placement points there for Worthy and Venduli. That's a decent team, Street Slayers coming into this.
Look at the setup. Remember I said 4 bunkers for Tui. He is set up ahead of everyone, and the damage will be immense from these guys. They are set up, ready to receive everyone's rotations.
But it's Chances, Vortex, and Luna. They are being aggressive. They are hunting down these bunkers and looking to flush these players out of it. They've got 4 eliminations, but they've got a knock. Chances has been taken down by Anon. Luna on the move again. They just go.
They are so set. Talon is set so well. Volk's trying to play from low ground here. He's going to go down though. Looks like Muti's the one who takes him out. Muti going on a solo clutch spree here. Tui with 3 elims himself. That's 1 point all by himself. A couple of nice shots here. He's going to take one of those other players down. Talon takes down Foz. Skits and Suns picking up some kills in the feed. We've got 18 left. Top 8 now.
And this is where the longer you can just stay in this game, you can start to maybe have a chance at racking up those eliminations, pick up some placement points, very much needed. Even if you're the last player alive on your team, and you can see that here with Jupiter, you've just got to hold out. They, down below,
Spiker
gets the
Fisher
elimination
down.
onto Spiker. That's another team wipe. That's not too bad for eliminations now, and the splashes go out. They can heal back up as well. There goes Volks, down to 6 teams.
They are so set up on high ground here. Talon, Tui, Fasfi are in a beautiful spot, but they do have to move north. This isn't going to be an easy rotation for them. They have to actually move into everybody else. Overstrain and Pumpkin sitting directly below Talon here. We're going to see an engagement. No, he disengages early, but this is where those extra bunkers are going to come in huge for Tui. He pops another one. Him and Fasfi stay safe.
Still got the slingers as well. A couple of chug splashes available if needed to heal back up. Talon, that storm damage is starting to really hurt as well. Down to 48 HP, still has the shield. Another Porta 4 into the water for Tui. This has been their saving grace. They don't have a whole lot of eliminations though either. Just to fall through Tui, then one else. That's 5. Yeah, make that 6 if it can convert it though. Splashes go out again. Storm damage hurting quite a lot. 7 players remaining. Fasfi just trying to hold on and stay in this one. Still has a Porta 4 as well. Pops the spray just to stay alive with Talon still available. Down to 3 squads remaining.
Vague and Anon playing really nicely around. Skits is up as a solo. Skits versus Anon and Vague. Skits gets taken down.
Oh.
It'll be Anon and Vague who win game 1 with 9 elims for the team.
The GOATs! They take match 1! What a start. That was an impeccable performance. They got 7+ eliminations and they get the win. They get the max points from the first match.
It's all GOATs coming through here for the first game of Red Bull High Grounds. And you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. So, taking them out to a slight lead with the win. They're going to be taking that extra point for coming in first spot. Now, are you happy with how that game played out for us?
Yeah, no, it's exactly what I was expecting to see. It's a wonderful, wonderful game to start off with. Again, came down to the control. We talked about it. The amount of control that Tui had on that high ground was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a slow start. We said that, we expected that, and it played out that way. Everyone came in, they wanted to play safe, they wanted to play the edge of the zone, close to the storm. Once it started really shifting though, once that circle started really bouncing around, that's where we started to see, obviously, how the teams want to play it. You saw Chances and Vortex, they wanted to go aggressive. They wanted to get on top of these bunkers, on top of these Porta Forts, and really just trying to punish those teams that are just kind of trying to, obviously, stay in, stay safe. They got a couple of eliminations from that, whereas others, obviously, they wanted to play safe, they wanted to just get towards the end and then start fighting.
It felt like the majority wanted to play safe, right? Like, towards the end, it was like getting those little circles, and we're still seeing like 40 players, 35 players alive in the, and then 5 minutes later, we're done. Like, just so much action happening in such a short span of time.
Yeah, well, we didn't actually see a whole bunch of Anon and Vague right until the end there, did we? And same with Skits. And it came down to the fact that they played very passive right up until the point where they had to engage. And it comes down again to that strategy of how can we make it to end game without having to engage with too many people, and then how can we convert? How can we make sure we have the resources with the bunkers, with the shield bubbles, to make sure that we can convert in the end game?
Yeah, I think most of the people that we were following in the early game, unfortunately, we didn't see them in the late game, and there's probably a good reason for that. And obviously, it just goes to kind of show really kind of what the meta really will favor. Here's a really good showing, though, of Chances. This was when really the game was really opened up. Once he started to get moving, along with Vortex, along with Luna, they took out Ironfall from Grace's team, and that really just kind of showed, hey, if you can get aggressive, you can get on top, and these teams just want to bunker down, we can punish that, and that's exactly what they did. Yeah, we started to see Tui as well get involved, and you can kind of see even like Fastby's team there, they were right towards the end, basically top 3. They were right in the middle of it. Just no one kind of pushed on them.
Exactly, and you talk about like Skits and Suns were up by themselves for a long time. And it comes down to that clutch ability, the ability to know when to move into zone, know when to engage and not to engage. Talk about the control that Talon and Tui had over this high ground here, but then they had to move. And the other guys who were slowly making their way through the zone were able to do it. Vague and Anon taking down the last few teams here. No HP, but getting it done.
It's always great to see people win that you might not have said would have had a crazy chance earlier. I feel like GOATs, we mentioned them once or twice, but we never really said that they were going to be one of the highlighted teams. But it just goes to show that it is anyone's game. It's anyone's competition.
I said good morning USA, so that's obviously Luna, Chances, and Vortex, and I was actually very pleased with the way that they played it. If they're going to end up being like a solo aggressive team, and what I mean by that is essentially the whole lobby wants to play safe except them, they'll actually be rewarded for that. They'll actually be able to pro farm a little bit and get those eliminations pretty much in most of the games. I don't know if it will remain that way in build mode. I think it'll change quite a lot there, but still, if they can come into the next zero build and everyone plays in a similar fashion, they know they can get aggressive, they know they can get eliminations that way.
Yeah, no, that's right. It was a very, very interesting first game. Obviously, only one more of those to go, so see how that plays out.
Yeah, let's see indeed. Now let's go see Nat T, who is up there to have a chat with the GOATs.
That's right. I've got my 3 winners of round 1 here. And Anon, I got to ask you, with this last storm, what were the comms like? How was the pressure? Did you feel like there was a lot despite all of you still being very much alive in this round?
The pressure was insane. The comms were crazy. Me and Vague, Foss died early, so me and Vague had to duo clutch it. We just knew we won the game when it was just a 1v2, so, and then we just chilled from there.
What was the idea behind, I understand there is a difference between it being build and no build, but for you, did you guys want to take it a little bit slower, or would you have liked to be a bit more aggressive?
Well, I prefer to take it slower because you have all the util, and like in end game of no builds, you'll get a lot more like frags, and usually you'll pick up more loot off them frags, so I guess, yeah.
In your eyes, Foss, who do you think is going to be the biggest threat for you guys that going forward? Maybe you got a bit of a target on your backs.
I don't even have any idea, to be honest. I'm just getting carried by these guys. Who do you think?
Big threats, I reckon these guys, Jackson, Mao, and Alec, I reckon they'll be the biggest threat, yeah.
All right, and I also want to ask you all the way down there, they're going to make my way quickly just down this way. How does it feel getting to play with someone like Foss as well as Anon on your team? Do you feel that there's more pressure on you as well?
Not really, because me and Anon are like close mates, so yeah, I just listened to him and stayed calm, and yeah, we did good.
All right, and do you have enough faith that you guys are going to be winning all of the rest of the rounds here, the next 3 rounds?
Hopefully.
Well, look, thank you to the 3 of you guys for joining me, but we are going to get back onto the desk with Mac and have a look at round 2.
Great to hear from the players. Very excited to get carried and play well, of course. Now, that is GOATs taking game number 1. There's 3 more to get to. Let's start turning that conversation a little bit towards game 2. Do you think we're going to see similar things going down in the game?
Well, it's so much of it is dependent on where those zones go and 100%. How they rotate those. So we might see it happen, but it also depends on how these guys play it. So you've just got to wait and see.
Yeah. Is there a situation where maybe the circle just like draws one direction or the other? Either way, look, that's a question you can answer for me in a moment, because it is time for the Maybelline play of the match. Let's have a quick look at what it is.
Oh, look. What is it? We're about to find out, and I'm hoping it's something exciting. It looks like it will be. Now, this was towards the very end of the game. This was Vague's team, of course, our winners. This is where they were able to clean up a little bit. And I like kind of what Vague said in the interview, along with Anon too. You can get these wipes, you also get the loot. And so that's where it really kind of sets them up for the late game. So it's about picking your timing. They didn't really have too many fights really early on in the game. I think this was their first real big engagement. They wiped it nice and clean. Not only do they then not expend much of their supplies, they get some extra ones as well. Sets them up nicely for the end game.
Yeah, but really nicely played. Speaking of the way that Anon and Foz push from one side, you see Vague coming around from the other and picking up those 3 elims. Only had 4, which means they only had the 1 up until that point, so they played very passive, and they picked their spot, and then look at the way they move ahead of zone. We talked about Tui being set up in those previous zones. These guys move ahead early, they set themselves up, and they can just put pressure back zone. It all comes down to the positioning. The way they rotated this zone, they are just set up and waiting for everyone to rotate in front of them. Beautiful play, beautiful rotations, well ahead of time. Perfect play, in my opinion.
They were just farming in these final circles. Look at it, it's just knock after knock, elim after elim, and that's exactly what got them all the way, as well as got them the Maybelline play of the match. So big congrats, not only winning, but also taking home the play of the match. That's beautiful. Thanks to Maybelline for that one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the leaderboard, it needs a few more minutes to get sorted, which means, we've got a few more minutes before that second game. It's going to be 0 builds, and it is time to take a break. Red Bull High Ground's coming back just after this, and we'll let you know who's in the lead.
Grace and goodness, I got nets in LA. Grace and goodness, mama, learn me some manners. I don't use them, but thanks anyway. I know y'all been moving up the mountain. I see you, but I'm going through it. Big bags, yeah, I'm going through it. Bring the homies with me, I'm gonna do it. Gravitation. Now when we niggas a celebration. Now when we flying, it's formation. Remember we flew in on coach, I'm the only coach who knows focus and motivation. I keep the peace, but if peace when I break, then I'm breaking my peace. I got correlation. Move to the islands, migration. Get to the money and vibrations. True. Wait. True. Yeah. Straight to the whip. Victory legend is best in the crib. Victory.
See, sizing me up like it's gonna do much when I'm out of your reach and you're out of touch. So you wanna be impressed, let me guess, it's Beauty and the Beast mode. Be my guest. When everybody here was throwing hands, I'ma lean up on the wall, I'ma watch and stand back, play it all out in my mind. I'm a woman with a plan, yeah, I'ma do it all, you just doing what you can. But I ain't gonna wait for your worst, son. If you're running with me, you'll be the first one. You'll be warming up when I'm launching off the start gun. Yeah, you're waiting on me, but my waiting is done. Let them circle us just to call and now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome it back to Red Bull High Grounds. We've got a second game not too far away. It is going to be staying no build. It was a bunch of fun just before. Of course, Goats should be in the lead, but who knows? Elims could change that. Leaderboard not too far away, but Goats were the Victory Royale takers for game number one. Of course, we have a fresh face on the desk. We have Fluke the Caster,
Hello.
aka Luke. I'll probably just use Luke.
Fluke the Caster.
You want Fluke or Luke, huh?
I mean, whatever anybody wants to call me.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
My name is Fluke, and I'm here to cast some Fortnite.
Oh,
Hopefully.
Easy peasy.
I know I'm not any replacement for Timmy, but eventually he will be back on the desk, so unfortunately people will have to listen to me for a minute.
Here's the thing. So we know Timmy's the local expert, so we've given him a res, we're giving him a break, and then that way he can come back and do the last 2 games of build.
Yeah, one whole game. It's been a very long day for Timmy.
One whole game. Oh man, it's a break. It's in his contract. So.
And then he's also got the rest of the day after that as well.
I mean, they don't call him one match Timmy for nothing.
Oh, do they?
But he's got thumbs now.
It was no thumb. It was Timmy no thumbs. Mate.
Timmy no thumbs and one match Timmy.
One match Timmy. By the way, look, we'll come up with a few more names for him. But we have the leaderboard to have a look at. Let's see who is in the lead. Is it going to be Goats or is it going to be another team?
Goats.
Let's see.
Goats.
There you have it.
Hey.
Goats in the lead by just 1 point. Going to the max amount of points with the Victory Royale, as well as getting 7+ elims. And each elim is going to matter that much more because I can see a world where we're going to have some tiebreakers at the end of the day.
Yeah, potentially because of the low-scoring format. And I think this also kind of highlights as well, like if you're 4th and you're only on 2 points, and obviously those that are on 0, you don't really get a whole lot unless you really make it towards the end. I think that might even more influence these players. We already said that they're going to play it pretty safe and slow. I think going into this next game of 0 build, I think they might go even safer and slower to make sure they're getting those placement points along with the eliminations. Those last, let's say 8 squads left, those fights are really, really important because not only are you wiping out a couple of other squads, you're picking up the loot, but you're getting towards the end game in a much better position. So those fights become super, super critical in the success of getting towards the top end of the leaderboard. So yeah, it's going to be very close throughout the day.
Exactly, especially when, as we've already seen from the GOAT so far, got themselves max amount of points in 1 match. There is only 3 more matches remaining, and if you just accrue yourself some victory royales, I think if a team's able to get at least 2 victory royales in 2 out of these 4 matches, that could almost rocket them anywhere from the top 4, even in the first place. So I think all of these remaining matches have been super important, and I'm very excited to see what this 0 build's going to bring us, whether or not it's going to be all that aggression from a lot of these teams, or whether or not they're going to dial it back once again and play very slow and methodical.
Look, any of those teams at the bottom of the leaderboard have a huge chance to jump right up, as you've mentioned.
Got to do it now, though.
Well, could do it later.
There's 2 more matches
could
to go.
Could be builders,
Oh, they could be builders, but by then they could be 12 points behind.
They certainly could. Now, Luke, you haven't had your say too much. You were sitting on the sidelines watching game number 1. Are there any teams that tickled your fancy that you'd like to put down as a prediction, even though you've also got the addition of knowing that some of the teams are already higher on the leaderboard?
Well, is it a bit of a cop-out if I say GOATs?
No, you can say GOATs.
All right, I'm going to go GOATs, baby. I think GOATs are going to be able to do it.
You were on GOATs the whole way, right?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, as soon as they walked in, I was like, yeah, it's going to be GOATs all the way here.
Well, let's see if GOATs can do it back-to-back in the no-build. Game number 2. It's starting here. Red Bull High Grounds. Let's see what's going to happen because it's building after this one.
It certainly is. So final match of 0 build here for round 2 of the Red Bull High Grounds. A good opportunity for these teams that might lack a little bit in the building mode to get some very valuable points. This is the time to do it. And obviously, if you go, it's a good opportunity to extend their margin going into this one. If they can have back-to-back really strong performances, that'll put them in a strong position going into the last 2 matches.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we even heard it from the GOATs on stage. Foss went down early on, but they're still able to clutch it up in that duo. So that could be something very, very strong for them to fall back on. And at the end of the day, if you get yourself above that 7 elims, that's 3 points. That's just as good as a Victory Royale. We talked about it before we had the break about the tiebreakers when it comes to Victory Royales first, and then its total number of eliminations. So at the end of the day, the GOATs sitting pretty with 1 win already.
Yep, 6 points, but obviously we saw teams Sackett on 5, then on 4, so they're close by. Those that are on 0, good opportunity to maybe pick up some points here, keep themselves in it, going towards the build mode. You know, speaking with Timmy, we know that there's going to be a large difference for certain teams going into that mode. Kazzy just having a little tumble down the mountain, but he'll be brought back up. It's just a bit of a boo-boo.
Yeah, just a little bit of a blip on the radar at this point. It's just making sure that he's realizing that the rest of his team is on the ball to be able to get the res back up, and now they're going to continue looting here. Nobody's really changed their looting patterns all too much just yet going into game number 2. Maybe we might see that as we get in towards the latter stages, Xenox, but right now it's all pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and the first circles, we saw it obviously in the first match, slow going, especially 1 to 4. We're not really going to see a whole lot. Teams are just going to kind of focus on their looting, try and find some vehicles if they can as well. Their method of transportation around the map, super important. Find that out early on. And then it's circle 5. We saw it in the first match. That's when it started to really shift around, and that's when we started to see teams collide a little bit on their rotation paths. That's probably how I'm expecting this match to play out once again. We've only got 2 games of 0 build, so you can't really mix things up too much. all I'm hoping for is that we see that aggression come out from Good Morning USA again. I think that's something that they've got to fall back on. If everyone else is playing safe and passive, you've got to be the team that stands out and be a little bit different.
Exactly, and you know, Timmy already touched on it going into those last couple of matches when it is the build mode of Fortnite. That's when some of these high tier players can really start to flex their muscles. And if you're able to get a lot of points in these first no build matches, and that can set you up into a really good spot going into the last couple of matches where maybe you just get a victory royale off the back of your skills, and then it's, you know, kind of all said and done here for High Grounds.
So again, early on, just trying to find some loot, obviously build up, and if you can get those Porta Forts, super valuable. Chug splashes as well, so good for the whole team to be able to heal back up, get those shields fully done up as well. Oasis on the move here with Jupiter and Volks. We saw them early on in the last game, and as we kind of said in the desk segment, with the teams that we saw early on, unfortunately we didn't really see them towards the end. So there is something to that. If you do win those fights early, and you can get those eliminations nice and clean, I mean, it does get you a point, right? A full squad wipe basically gets to a point because of the first 3 eliminations. So it's not the end of the world if you do fight early, but what we saw in match number 1 were these teams basically just not wanting to close the gap, not wanting to shrink that distance down. If they were within sight of like a sniper rifle or a bolty or anything like that, you can get some chip damage in, sure, that's great, but they're not going to overdo it, overplay their position.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why we're kind of just sitting here and waiting for these teams to really get themselves set up. And I think a lot of the teams that had success in that first match were able to set themselves up in really good spots when it comes to these circles. Obviously, just the first circle right now, teams are still looting up and waiting to find those important opportunities. But when it comes down to a lot of this loot that we've been seeing, we're seeing a lot of these shields be able to have that jiggle dance in and out of the shield to be able to try and outplay some of your opponents. Yep. Even the bunkers have been super important, so maybe teams might start to prioritize those in this final game here of no build so they can have themselves set up for the final circles.
Just saw the Siphon enjoyers there, Muzak, Radius, Realms, some top players, of course, Realms and Radius. Muzak's been around Fortnite for a long time now as well, but they went out really early, unfortunately, in the first match, so didn't collect any points. Even got a reboot in there, but unfortunately couldn't really change the outcome for them. So they'll have to bounce back like many teams as we get Circle 2. Again, doesn't really do a whole lot. Does shift away from the snow up north, kind of the similar fashion to match number 1. So those teams up to the north, they will probably more so push, again, with the Storm, not so much as the Circle has moved.
Yeah, exactly. And we even saw when it came in with that southern shift and then it shifted almost directly north a few circles later. So maybe some of these teams might be looking towards to say a little bit more central in the map and try and play, as you said, around the zone and try and get a little bit of that pot shots as teams do start to make their way in and try and find a little bit of real estate for themselves to bunker down into. Have seen some pot shots so far here, Xenox, but nothing of worth just yet.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is this early on, the position inside of these really first 4 circles don't really mean anything. Yeah. I mean, heck, even the 5th circle really doesn't mean a whole lot. That's why we weren't really seeing a whole lot of teams overcommit just because of a circle shift. Circle phase 5 or 6, for example, they really didn't really care too much about it. It's not really until right towards the end that you kind of want to be in those best positions. So you don't want to overplay your hand too much, put yourself in a bad position, and then bam, circle shift next one, and suddenly you're now really, really far away from it. So don't have to panic too much, and that's what we saw from a lot of teams. And that's, again, what we're going to see here is just moving in with the Storm, keeping it rather slow. If you're around Mega City or around Frenzy Fields, for example, those kind of areas, you can't really do too much. You kind of just want to hold your area, keep looting, branch out, try and get some vision. That's the other thing. It's just kind of, even though they've been in those spots for a little while now, you still don't necessarily want to leave it. You want to just make sure, hey, what can we see? Are there teams around us rotating? Is there other teams that we can see close by here? Kind of in this situation here towards Brutal Bastion at the moment. Chances, Vortex, Luna. They were aggressive in the first match. They might be aggressive once again here. Vinduli, Portafort goes out. Really wanted to hold on to that one. He's in the Storm though and getting shot at. Doesn't want to go down this early. Should have the meds to be able to heal back up from this position. Sling away, 10 HP, out of the Storm, just barely.
Yeah, I thought the Street Slayers were going to see if they can try and get themselves a sneaky backstab, but unfortunately for them, they did run into Good Morning USA, who have been a little bit of a tear in that first match with a whole lot of aggression. Unfortunately for them, they didn't go all the way towards the number 1 spot, but sitting very, very high on the leaderboard. And if they're able to convert on some of these eliminations, be able to get down some of these players from Street Slayers, then it makes their rotation towards the zone a little bit easier as well. See what they can get done here, though. They understand that there is still people somewhere in the vicinity. They know they've done a decent amount of damage. They're just going to try and keep to themselves, try and get themselves in a good high ground position here on the edge of the zone, wait to see where it moves out, and see if they can try and take a little bit more of this real estate.
Yeah, and again, you don't want to overcommit your hand, but you also kind of want to ward some of these teams away. Oasis has got to be careful. Bubble Shield goes out just to deny the knock from coming through, especially in a vehicle. If you do get knocked, you can kind of get left behind out in the open. Very easy to then flush that, find the elimination. Just manages to stay alive, keep all three up, and so far as we're through this match, match number 2 of Zero Build, no player has been eliminated just yet.
It's very slow right now. Teams are understanding how fickle it can be on this
what a
leaderboard.
shot.
A little bit of damage coming in there from Realms as well. Hasn't been able to convert on this elimination just yet, but they're stuck in an awkward spot here. Tucklebuckle has to drop the shield and try and get themselves away.
Yeah, 3 teams sort of in our overview camera position, something we didn't really see in match number 1 this early on. That amount of teams. They're still over towards Frenzy Field. It's not a whole lot of reason to necessarily get moving. Storm not really a factor in this fight. Again, the shield goes out and everyone will start to run away from it. It was Tucklebuckle that was taking a big chunk of the damage earlier, and it's going to be multiple shields overlaid on top of each other. Jinx has taken to about half health, lost all of his shield. So a little bit of an early conflict. I'd call it early. There's still a lot of circles to get through here, especially before it starts shifting around.
Yeah, unfortunately there for the respectful Chonkers, they did lose a lot of their resources trying to get themselves away there from the Siphon Enjoyers, who have found themselves a decent amount of loot here. Going to see if they can stock themselves up as they head in towards the next couple of zones. Trying to get a little bit more of this information. Be able to find out Flobby as well as they make their way. A nice little car bubble.
So again, Storm will start shrinking and it will force those outside of it into it, but there's not really any teams that are really outside of this current phase circle. Only Loserfruit's team, CLJ, the only ones really. Everyone else pretty much firmly inside of the circle on the edge, of course. No one really playing too much center except for those that were already around Mega City. Realms just trying to see if he can get some pot shots in, get some free trick damage for Muzalk and Radius as well. Of course, they weren't able to survive a whole lot into match number 1. So the goal will be play safe, play passive, see what you can do from a distance. Dewey as well, of course. This team managed to get to the top 3 in match number 1. But a high ground position now for Venduli's team. They were the ones that were on the receiving end earlier. They've got themselves into a decent little spot here, actually, on top of the ledge.
Yeah, having themselves the high ground here, just trying to choke out some more of these resources from these teams as they make their transition in. You want to make sure that you're the one that is holding all the best resources in your pockets, especially once we start getting towards these zone 5s and start getting very, very deep. Nobody still has been eliminated just yet, so very slow and steady from a lot of these teams. We're seeing the leaderboard. It is a very small distance between first and last, and all it takes is one good match here in Red Bull High Grounds, and it could just rocket yourself in the first spot.
I think one thing that these teams have done a little bit better so far in match number 2 is just protecting space. Yep. In match 1, there was a couple of teams that just allowed others to get kind of close by to them and sort of incorporate themselves too close to them. And then from there, and we saw it probably with Muzalk's team, the Siphon Enjoyers in the first match. They got kind of aggressed upon before they knew it. Teams on top of them pretty early on into the game. Teams have done a bit better of a job of just kind of spreading out, making sure that no one can kind of creep into their position of the map, especially early on, which is kind of where you just want to get as much control of the map as possible. Just spread out a little bit, stay close, stay compact. Really, as the game does start shrinking, that's when you're going to see those close quarter fights. But for now, you don't really want to have that be a problem to think about. Tucklebuckle, though, he does get caught out eventually. Jupiter will find that elimination, and he has been the first one taken out of this match. Shots back, though, towards Jupiter from Jinx, looking for a bit of remonstration. Shield does also evaporate, but then it has been renewed. So no trade comes through from Jinx, and one elimination on the board, courtesy of Oasis. And from above now, Kazi, this might be a knockdown here to come through as well for their team of CLJ, Loserfruit's team, straight into the shield, straight to safety for how much longer. And then it's Laserbeam's team as well off in the distance.
Yeah, everyone's starting to coalesce here on the Frenzy Fields. May start to see a little bit more of this aggression, a few more of these fights going down. Our first elimination did take us a little bit of time to get. We've finally been able to get it right now, and now we're just looking at Jinx, seeing if he can hit the headshot. Hasn't been able to land that one just yet. And again, we'll continue to just try and posture around the edge of this circle here, seeing if he can control a bit more of this space, try and catch some more of these rotators as they come through the Frenzy Fields here. Seeing if they can burn out any more of these resources. And once again, the zone has not really shifted all too much. It is starting to stay towards that northeastern side.
Yeah, still only the fourth phase of the 12, so it should be Circle 5 that really shakes things up quite a lot. No eliminations yet for Vinduli's team, but for Worthy and Cyphic, they've had to do a little bit of work in making sure Vinduli stays alive, because we've seen him get taken down quite low a couple of times so far in this match. Rift has been opened up, good means of transportation. That has been located up towards the northern side of the circle, where there's actually not a whole lot of teams. I think only Fastfee's team might be above there. That's about it, so it's quite safe towards the north.
Yeah, they are starting to make that transition now, but as we can see, the Street Slayers, they found themselves a nice little spot here to stay up on the high ground. Talked about this in game number 1, did Timmy. Saying this is a very, very good spot for loot. See Sync trying to find a little bit of this angle, but we're going to start rolling through from our champions in match number 1, our winners. See what they can do as they start to roll towards the extra parts of this zone. Seeing if they can replicate what they had in match number 1.
Well, here we go. This should be a bit of a circle shift and finally start to get things rolling here for match 2 of Zero Build. Do we get anything crazy? It's straight towards Mega City. Hopefully for a bit of a mega ending, and those teams towards the west now all going to have to group up coming in towards Mega City. The north side's looking pretty clear. Of course, taking that riff of Vinduli, ended up on the island up to the north side. Pacifist's team will be close by as well. So far, only about 2 or 3 teams actually inside of Mega City as well, but it is very much out towards that western side, close by to where we saw earlier from Frenzy Fields. That's where a lot of the commotion was earlier. That's exactly where I expect it to be as well.
Yep, and we can see now they're starting to bunker down in Mega City. We did just see that Flobby, they were making their rotation in here as well. You can see that the Fortnitians have made their way in. A very loud entrance as well, so a lot of teams are going to be understanding exactly what's going to be happening, especially with more of these teams starting to come together in the side of Mega City.
The one thing with this kind of POI as well, right, it can kind of buck the trend, which is, you know, wanting to stay on the edge of the storm, but you've got this large POI now, so you can kind of send it in there as a bit of a safe haven. There's a lot more buildings, a lot more cover, therefore that goes with it. Therefore, it is okay to kind of just send it towards the center of the circle, just so you're not kind of caught out on the edge. Flare goes out, that can get some information around the location for Jackson, Mao, and Alec as well. There's going to be, though, a few more opportunities for some close quarter fights inside of Mega City. But just because this is where we're going for Circle 5 doesn't mean this is where we're going to finish things off, though.
Yeah, we've got 3 squads now starting to get relatively close to each other. They have a little bit of information about where these players are going to be, but you really want to make sure that if you do take one of these engagements, that it is a favorable one for you, especially with the amount of squads that are starting to come together here in Mega City. A little bit more of that information is being gathered here by Laserbeam. Haven't spotted anybody just yet, though, and you can feel the tension, right? You can understand that these teams understand that with 15 squads still remaining, if you lose a fight early on here, you're completely out of the points.
Yeah, certainly. Now, Lucifer's taking a bit of damage. High ground position, though, of note for her team of CLJ. You can see the stark contrast there with Manduli's team, and they're on the move, not wanting to take that engagement uphill. Instead, they're going to just move away, and that's a reason for it, being the next circle shift, which is going to be over towards the northeastern side, well and truly away from Mega City. So it's only short-lived, and that's also why, if you overcommit, you send yourself into Mega City, that's, again, not exactly where it's going to finish up. Now you've got to make your way out of it safely. There's a lot more teams. They'll have the high ground, they'll have the skyscrapers. They can start to get some chip damage in. And that's why these shields are so important. Everyone's going to now get on the move, but still out to the very far west. So many teams have got such a large trek to this next circle shift.
Yeah, they are absolutely chilling out there on the western side. It's going to be interesting to see these rotations through the storm and see whether or not they're going to try and play a little bit on the edge, see if they can get themselves a very wide berth, come all the way down here through the lake on the opposite side of Mega City. But it looks like there is a fight that is starting to break out.
We did get a reboot as well, so we actually still have all 45 players inside of the server, despite that early elimination, courtesy of Oasis and Jupiter. Reboot has come through. I think it was Tuckle Buckle that fell, so has been able to get back into things. As the teams start to make their rotations, of course, it's still early, so you can survive that storm damage this early on. It's not going to do a whole lot. Therefore, teams are going to play so safe, Luke, that they're coming in that late in the storm with it, just so they don't have to deal with fighting this early on. Porterfort goes out. Still a couple of teams making their way past Mega City. Can't stay here, though. They've got to keep moving.
They might just be on the edge of the storm here, though, Xenox, and I think that's what they're trying to play around. They're trying to play around this building in the corner so they can make that slow rotation, see if they can get some of these stragglers as they make their way up onto the high ground. And that's why these first rotations were so important for some of these teams, right? They got the high ground, they got the early position, so they can start fighting these teams as they make their way through the storm. And what a lucky little shift that we had here for our teams left in Mega City. They're stuck in this little corner of heaven. You can see more of these shots starting to come out from Vortex. Hasn't been able to connect on to too many people just yet. And once again, nobody has been eliminated. We have seen a few. It's like a few teams have dropped now with a whole squad going down. Chances in the gang hasn't been able to connect on anybody just yet. Just trying to deal with this bunker. Trying to get rid of some more of these resources. Trying to get rid of some more of this high ground.
I think that was respectful chonkers that were eliminated. So Tuckle Buckle, Jackie Bunny, and Jinx. The Dooley has been knocked as well. Not ideal. Finished off as well very quickly. The hands of Jupiter. So again, this high ground position, look at chances. Luna and Vortex at the top of this skyscraper. They're sitting pretty. You've got the Porta Fort up there as well, although it has been damaged a little bit, but they've got ultimate high ground that they can look down upon. The only problem is, if you kind of peek out, you're going to have a lot of eyes looking back in your location as well. So it's a double-edged sword. By sitting up this high, getting all of this information, you'd certainly rather be in this position, especially with the circle shift now back towards the south. All those teams that over-rotated, went up north, they've got to make their way back down towards the south, back towards the outskirts of Mega City.
Yeah, the only real competition that they've had here in this corner, but as the fight starts to break out, seems like Good Morning USA have decided to go on the aggressive once again. They lost 2 members that they are sitting on the ground. They've been able to finish it up, though, being able to clean up some more of these eliminations. That's 2 more to add to the tally as well. Alex looking for some action. Hasn't been able to find anything with a shotgun just yet, but now there's some boys rolling up with a shield on the cart.
Yeah, this is where those close quarter fights are really going to start to break out. Luckily, though, for Chance's team, they got the eliminations, and then they were able to get the revives as well very quickly after that. Those knocked players that went down a little bit in that fight. Here we go, though, over towards Luciferoot's team, who unfortunately has already lost those 2 players that did push on to Chance's, and Vortex and Luna. That was Kazi and that was Jacko. They lost their lives. Loserfruit stayed alive, though. As a solo now still for her team. More Scythix just dropped in front of her. Able to get the knock. That was from Alec, though. Loserfruit was really just sort of watching on. 14 health. Can't make it around the other side of the corner. That was Sync. That finds the elimination. On to Loserfruit. That's her team gone. CLJ, no points for them.
Yeah, 2 other squads went down as well, so we're starting to lose them thick and fast here. 1 more to go down before we start getting into the points, ladies and gentlemen, and we can see fights are finally starting to kick off. A few more of these eliminations are walking well, but look at this. Look at the high ground that Good Morning USA have once again. Grace goes down once again from a knock. It looks like Jackson was able to commit that one and finish that one off. A bit more of this ODM gear. That's Luna and Tui in the same car.
Yeah, certainly is. They're going to be sharing this one.
Gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, gentleman's agreement. A little pack has been made. Who can shoot who from outside of the windows? Ekman will lose their life as well. Luda. Well, Cody trying to take Tui out of the vehicle. Luda's like, hey, what's going on here? Are you on my team or on his team? Tui eventually loses their life, though, to Anon. Down to 10 teams remaining, so they'll get placement points. But who can pick up the eliminations? Sync trying to land the shots on the Realms. Now he'll just move away. Look to move with the Storm. It is going to start to do some damage.
Oh, we're finally starting to get into the points here, Xenox. This is where these teams are going to be able to move forward when it comes to the leaderboard, and it is all starting to pop off. We've got a few more members here in this little fort, the little bunker, and the fight seems to be starting to go the way here of Pumpkin. It was NJ who was able to get a few more of those eliminations, and now they're starting to rack up the points as well.
Yeah, I think we just lost about like 4 teams in the blink of an eye. Down to 5 remain, sliding down the hill. Devil Eek's team, just the 1 elimination so far, but at least some placement points. They knocked down. Of course, they're kind of looking for back-to-back. Has been eliminated. I think maybe would have been a solo there, because now we're down to 4 squads remaining. Skits as a solo, up to 5 eliminations. They have 6 as a team. 1 more will secure all 3 of the points from eliminations to go with the placement points. Skits doing a tremendous job now as a solo. 4 squads left, and from the high ground, sliding on down. It's NJ, Overstrand, and Pumpkin pushing in.
Yeah, the Fortnitians really have a good position there on the high ground, but they have to make this rotation with the Storm. You're going to see a little bit more of this damage is starting to come out from SMA.
Just needs 1 more elimination. Gets the 7, get the 3 points. Unfortunately, doesn't find it. That's a massive elim from Radius. Shuts down Skits. They'll only walk away with the 2 elim points rather than the 3, as they couldn't get to 7+. Something to keep in mind as the day goes on. 1 or 2 points here or there could be a difference maker for thousands of dollars. As Spiker, Fisher, and Devilique on the move. Only the one elimination. 5 for Radius, and Realms looking to make that 6 and should do so. The knockdown onto Overstrand, and NJ has been able to do it. Radius is the solo remaining, gets up to 7. The Elims can't get the victory royale though. That goes to Fisher, Devilique, and Spiker. They take match number 2. It's Usos.
Usos doing a really, really good job there in those final couple of circles to be able to get themselves into a nice little high ground position. Unfortunately for Radius, there was too many members remaining, and being the last one alive of his squad was not able to clutch it up. But another champion when it comes to the no build, and I think this leaderboard, oh, it's going to be spicy to look at.
It's going to be interesting indeed. But look, 2 different winners, 2 different Victory Royale teams means the race is on for the winner of Red Bull High Grounds. But look, that's it for No Build, and that was a goddamn fun time. I saw some interesting strats coming through there from a few of the teams. My favourite was when I saw the bubble shield on the car. Easy.
Oh, it's good.
Safe as anything.
It's too good, but I think it might be. It's one of those things when you see it and you're like, surely that's not intended. But I mean, these teams are playing it and they're doing a really, really good job at utilizing everything in their arsenals to be able to get themselves in a really, really good position and be able to take a lot of the resources away from a lot of the enemy squads. I think that's a big thing that I've seen from a lot of these teams is resource management and being able to just, albeit they might not be getting some eliminations or some knocks, but they're at least forcing them to use some more of these resources, some more of this healing, some more of these defensive items that they have to be able to then utilize later on.
Now tell me, Jake, between these 2 games so far, which one's been your favourite? Because this one was interesting. It felt like the end had a little bit more cover than what we saw from game 1.
I think so. I think match 1 probably had a little bit more going on with it, and especially because it was a bit more out in the open. I think some of the fights were a bit more prolonged as well, whereas this was a bit more snappy. Teams were getting wiped out pretty quickly. I think it's probably part and parcel with as everyone else gets comfortable on stage, they start to get in the groove a little bit more, and so you see that in match number 2. But yeah, both were exciting. Obviously, both played out in a pretty similar fashion, right? Started slow, everyone moving with the storm. Mega City really changed it up. We didn't have that kind of POI back in match number 1, and obviously the biggest thing was if you over-rotate and you kind of see the big shift and then you go there and then it's like it shifts back, then you kind of just absolutely screwed. So obviously we saw, I think, a lot of the smart teams really not get played by the circle shifts.
Yeah, it was interesting where this one shifted as well. But overall, I felt like we saw a bit more vehicle play, like a lot of rotations. And I was looking at the amount surviving towards the end. That circle was getting small, and I was seeing like 20, like one of the final circles.
Yeah.
So I knew action was about to happen. There was elims going left, right, and center. But it was a great win coming through from Usos.
I think the one difference, though, and we saw it there in the last kind of replays, Radius especially getting to that number 7, that magic 7, just before falling in second place. We saw a couple more solos just trying to fight to get that 1 or 2 elimination to get to the next side of the bracket. So that was definitely something that I think we saw a little bit more of in match 2. Obviously for Radius, worked out really well. Got to 7 eliminations and then got to second place. Big solo effort from a star pro.
And I think it's something that you touched on as well, Xenox, is the fact that, you know, if you don't hit that 7 elimination threshold, that means a difference between, it's 1 point, right? But at the end of the day, with the small amount of points that we have on offer here for Red Bull High Grounds means that if you don't get over that threshold, then that 1 point could mean, you know, maybe you have to try a little bit harder in these final couple of matches to try and get a victory royale, because at the end of the day, these points are a diamond.
Just 1 point, just 1 point. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be a huge difference maker. Let's talk to the difference makers. It's Nat T up on stage with Usos.
Thank you so much, Mac. I got Fisher here next to me. I'll start with you. I mean, last round you guys came 7th. Not the best placement, but here you are in 1st. What was the biggest change up? What was the comeback in here in this no build round 2?
Honestly, just playing as a team and like communicating. Just, yeah, that's it.
Were the communications chaotic, or were you guys actually pretty calm and relaxed when it came to that final storm?
Yeah, we just sat there. Didn't need to move because we had zone, so yeah.
It was a perfect strat. Look, Dev, are you a no build? What's your forte when it comes to Fortnite?
I'd definitely have to say no build, so this is probably where I'm more confident. But yeah, I had these 2 teammates to help me to the victory, so they did great.
Yeah, and Spiker, I do want to ask you a little bit more about like what the game plan was. Were you guys always going to play it safe, or how do you do it when it comes down to a lot of teams converging at 1 point?
Well, the plan was just to play it safe because Fish's audio wasn't working, so like I'd had to like calm everything. But like, yeah, just go front side, stay safe. Yeah.
And how do you personally feel about your trio going into the build now?
Yeah, I'm feeling more confident in builds, yeah.
Perfect, that's what I like to hear. Usos might actually be coming out on top as we are going to head back to the panel with round 3.
Great to hear from Usos. A lot of confidence coming through. Maybe
Best
not.
strat.
Maybe not towards the end.
Stay safe and win.
Yeah, stay safe and win. It's just
A
that
little
easy.
bit lucky, but
Pretty
Devil
easy.
League was very worried about moving into the build stage, the build games. Either way, that's not too far away. But what do you think is going to be the Maybelline play of the match? Is there any particular ones that stood out to you two?
I mean, it depends on kind of what you want to phrase it. I think Radius at the end, clutching up, getting that elimination to get to 7 and then get to second place as well with it. I think maybe it's not the most flashy play, but for what he was able to achieve and get from it, I think that was probably the play of the match. But I mean, who knows? I don't even know who's picking them.
Special mention could have been the car play.
Could have been.
Oh, yeah,
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. That was pretty funny.
Creativity.
But I don't know who's picking them.
Yeah, who's
Absolutely
picking them?
love to
Is it
see
you?
Mate, I could be. I'll tell you later.
Ooh.
That's a secret. We'll leak that as the day goes on. Of course, maybe it's Timmy. Maybe that's why he was having the little bit of time off.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think, look, towards the end, there's just so much action towards the end. It's so hard to go past those like final moments. Just so many elims happen. You see teams going up to 7 elims and getting those extra points, and that should be those plays of the match, right?
Yeah, they definitely should be, and I think, as Xenox said, at the end there, Radius being able to get them over the threshold, be able to get them that extra point, could be very, very important for them moving forward, because I can't really remember the standings when it comes to everybody's points, but, 3 points at the end of a no build when you finish second as well, like that's already 5 points in and of itself, and that sets you, if the other teams didn't get all too many points, that sets you really, really high up in the standings, so
Yeah,
very important.
I want to as well, when we come back from the break, which is happening, in a little bit, talk about the tiebreakers again, because I feel like we are going to need them. Like,
I'm not smart enough for tiebreakers, Mac, unfortunately.
It's pretty. Look, when the leaderboards are, it's like on the left, it's like victory royales. In the middle, it's elims, and then on the right was the points. Right. So points is the main thing. But if we're seeing teams with like 9 points at the end of the day, because like arguably it's not going to be super high scoring. It is victory royales. If it's like 4 different teams all with a victory royale and they're all on the same points, then it goes to elims. After elims, I think it's like time alive or amount of time alive.
Don't do math on broadcast.
Yeah, I was going to say that surely there's smarter people out the back that'll be able to figure that out, and we just get to smile away with the camera.
Yeah. Well, you guys smile and wave. I'm going to figure it out right now. Why not? Huh? I've got time. You got time? I've got plenty of time.
We don't have that much time.
got time?
Soon we're going to be getting into match 3.
I've got plenty of time.
I don't know how long it can take you to...
I also heard Timmy's coming back, so that's very exciting for
I've got
everybody
time
at home.
today. Look, I have them right here, but we don't actually need them because it is time for the Maybelline play of the match. It was Luther coming through with the play of the match for Game 2. Let's see what he did.
Well, now I know who's picking the play of the matches. It's obviously Luke. This was obviously hilarious, and Tui and Luda just sharing the same vehicle. Cody in there as well. So Tui was the one that obviously is just going to popped in there and is sort of just taking a bit of a free ride and making himself part of the team.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. I think it's one of those scenarios where we touched on how as soon as you get towards the end of these games, it really start to get chaotic, and it gets to that point where you're probably not even looking that close to where your character is. You're looking in front of you to try and get yourself some of those eliminations, and I mean, it happens to the pros, happens to the best of us.
It happens to the pros, happens to the amps, happens to the content creators, and look, it happens to be time for a break. It's time to jump into the build games, and they're coming up just after this. Red Bull High Grounds. Stay excited.
gon' blow up. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far. Around the world, send a postcard. Pop up, go up, we gon' blow up. Smashing shows, that's how it is. Dreamed about this as a kid. Show out, show up, we the next up. Work hard, rock star, this the life we live. Play your part, not yourself. Go for one, get the belt, map it out, then you strike. Walk with me, I got the mic. Never doubt it, this a journey. Always grinding, never worried. Took the funds, cap the drip. Hard to haters, hella sick. Why they looking hella hard? Cause we raising up the ball. Spend some bands on the crib. Late nights, we'll take you far. Push the whip, shift the gear. Pretty chick, it's pretty clear. You can tell, it's our year. New whip, top tier. Pop up, go up, we gone. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far. Around the world, send a postcard. Pop up, go up, we gon' blow up. Smashing shows, that's how it is. Dreamed about this as a kid. Show out, show up, we the next up. Work hard, rock star, this the life we live. Walking with all of this ice, I know I'm doing it right. Watch how I hit off the light, watch how I light up the night. Can't say I'm not nice, this really my life. More drip than a pipe, I don't brag but I might. Double C on the hills, run around the carousel. When they ask about me, tell them all I'm doing well. Watch the money is stacked, you can't pay me back. In the lab, that's a fact. Silk on the bill of my hat, tie my sweater, no frack. I don't buy off the rack, pinky ring just a match. I don't act like a Mac, and we don't go tit for tat. The team don't rock like that. Late nights never slack. Uniform all black. Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far. Around the world, send a postcard. Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Smashing shows, that's how it is. Dreamed about this as a kid. Show out, show up, we the next up. Work hard, rock star, this the life we live. Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far. Around the world, send a postcard. Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far. Around the world, send a postcard. Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Smashing shows, that's how it is. Dreamed about this as a kid. Show out, show up, we the next up. Work hard, rock star, this the life we
Who likes building? I like building. Luke likes building, and so does my friend Timmy, who's back on the desk with us here. It's Red Bull High Grounds. We're halfway through the competition. No build, no more. It's time to jump on into builders. Did you get your OHS certificate, your green card when you came over here? Are you ready? Is everyone, sufficiently allowed to build up on the stage? Because I feel like there might be some kind of issues going on.
Might have to check with the NZ players, but I'm ready to go.
Okay. Well, I will do that. Either way, everyone's qualified for building, jumping into game 3. Let's have a quick look at the leaderboard after both no-build games have been done. Let's see who's at the top. Oh, Siphon and Joy is jumping up there.
This is post-match.
Sorry.
Relax,
Got ahead of
Mac,
myself.
relax.
Got ahead of myself. This
It
is
is.
just for last game. This is
Yes.
just for last game. So Siphon and Joy's, even though they placed second, they didn't get that victory royale, but they did get the 7 elims, so they get the extra points that edge them above Usos, edge them above the Fortnicians, sorry. I keep saying the Fortnicians, but there's one less T in there. SMA, Lobby, and Good Morning all tied in 4th there, so look, it's anyone's game. And there's single points going everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Xenox touched on it at the dying moments there of that match number 2. The fact that Siphon and Joyers were able to eke themselves up into that 7 elimination threshold means that they were the only team that were able to get themselves the full points for eliminations, and that meant that they're able to get themselves 5 points and maybe set themselves up.
Well, let's see if they did set themselves up or not. It's time for the full leaderboard. It's time to look at it. Who's up top? Ghost still sitting there. 12 elims, 8 points. SMA tied with them, but they don't have a victory royale. So 13 elims is good enough to get the points, but not to put them in pole position.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're looking at this right now, especially with SMA being able to put themselves tied first as well on 8 points, purely off some of their placement points as well. So they've been able to put themselves in a really, really good spot. All it takes is for them to try and get towards the upper echelon in these last 2 matches, and I think, Timmy, they could put themselves at the top.
Yeah, well, we actually saw a couple of teams there. I think 3 teams in a row that had 6 elims. That's a heartbreaker because one more elim for either of those teams gets them at 1 point. And when you talk about how tight this leaderboard is, 1 point can be the difference between no money and a few grand.
Yeah, arguably right now, look, 3 points split between first and third place. So that's a big jump. That's a big jump for these teams to try to chase SMA and GOATS. And if GOATS continue to put the elims on the board going into builds, if they manage to get another Victory Royale, then they might be securing that first place. But of course, you're looking at Usos. They have 5 points from that last game. They had 0 before, and they're already up in third place. So we're going to see this leaderboard shift time after time as we continue to move into the build games. Now, Timmy, you're back for the builds. We gave you last game off. You said you didn't like no builds anymore. But you get to do the next 2 build games. Are you ready for the chaos?
Yeah, I am. And again, I want to, the V word, versatile. We are going to see just how versatile these teams are. Those teams at the top, can they do it in the build mode as well? Can they get it done across multiple modes? And can they adjust? Can they take the strategy and adjust it as they need to? So we're going to see probably even slower than the no build mode because you're able to stop damage coming your way. But we also might be entering into Storm Surge, and we can break that down if we reach it. But we're going to see some seriously stacked games here at the end here. So don't expect too much action right at the start. We'll see lots of tags, lots of trades like we did it earlier on. But it'll be a pretty slow start. We'll ease into it, and things will heat up right at the end.
Well, it'll be a slower end, even though there will be as much action, even more action, lots more to look at, lots of walls, lots of builds everywhere. And look, speaking of builds, it looks like we might not be too far away from game number 3. Luke, who do you want to see win? Do you want to see GOATS stay on top?
I think GOATS are in a really, really good spot right now, but I hope that this final couple of matches here, Mac, are going to be anybody's game. As we said, there is a few amount of points between them.
Not many points left for the taking, and it's time to jump on in to the first build game, game number 3. Only one more after this. It could all be decided here if the teams up top keep it up. Luke, Timmy, take us into the build games.
Oh, Mac. This is the penultimate round for Red Bull High Grounds. The winner of this match can set themselves up for success going into the final round of this evening. Timmy, mate, it's good to be able to be back into some of the builds, see some of these pros, see some of these future pros, and even see some of these content creators go back to what made Fortnite Fortnite.
Yeah, the differentiation point for Fortnite, the fact that you can build your own structures and keep yourself safe by farming up, and immediately we see the difference there is someone farming up, but Spiker trying to find himself some surge tags off rip. He might want to work on that long-range aim as we move into these last 2 games here.
Timmy's already starting to call out some of these players, see if they're going to work on their aim as we start to get towards the latter stages of Red Bull High Grounds. I think at this point, some of these players are really starting to get in the swing of things, right? Obviously, 2 matches of no build. You go into build, things start to change up a little bit for you, but they've already warmed up their aim. They've warmed up to the setups. They've figured out how they want to play, and this is where we're able to see the skill expression from some of these top-tier pros and even the future pros.
Yeah, and you know, zones, you guys were speaking about the zones. Zones 1 through 5, not so impactful, but that as a first zone is about as impactful as it gets. I think from what we've seen, the first zone generally tends to follow on the following one. So we see a first zone like that, I'm expecting it to go south. So all of those northbound teams that we've seen, we've got Cyfec, Worthy, and Vinduli up top there. The Street Slayers, they're going to have to make a massive rotation along with CLJ, Jupiter, Oasis, and Vortex. And then, of course, Vortex, Chances, and Luna as well. They've got a long way to go here.
Yeah, they definitely do. And especially, as you said, if it does follow that trend, some of these teams are going to have to get the transitions. They're going to have to start working their way in and making sure that they're not, you know, running out of mats. And I think that's a big thing as well, right? It's something that we don't talk about in no build, but when you start getting in towards these latter stages, if you start to run out of these materials, it's another thing you have to start to think about, is making sure that you still do have these materials to start building when you get towards these latter stages, because that's when all the chaos starts to ensue, right?
Yeah, and there's a couple, you know, people talk about strategy, and I'll talk about strategy a little bit, but when it comes to the build side of things, a lot of it comes down to how well you can conserve your materials, and that can be done via, you know, stuff that we've talked about in the zero build stuff. Can you avoid sight lines by cutting line of sight through natural ground, or do you know a way that you can refarm? Can you create a little wall for yourself while you're rotating to avoid taking too much damage, and then look to refarm that at some later stage? So knowing what's coming up on the map, can I use brick going into this stage? Can I use wood going into this stage? Thinking ahead and planning ahead and having having a good strategy for that stuff is really important coming into what I think will be some seriously stacked end games.
Yeah, I think it is going to be crazy as well, right? Because we've already seen how I feel like evenly matched a lot of these teams are that we saw in the no-build, but this is where you're really able to kind of separate a lot of these players, right? When you're able to see their prowess and when they're able to box people in, get a lot of these, you know, quick little headshots, all that kind of crazy stuff that everybody has grown up and seen through a lot of these Fortnite clips, and I'm very excited to see if we get some big ones today.
Yeah, and I think a little bit comes, this is where the draft strategy is really going to differentiate itself. I talked about it a little bit when we were talking about the teams and the way they pick. But if we go back to Flobby, one of my favorite teams in the tournament, we've got Jackson, Mao, and Alec. Jackson's the amateur, so he gets to pick first. He was the first pick. He picked Mao, probably the strongest content creator we have here. Skits, one of the amateurs, I say that in quotes, he went with Suns, probably the best player in the region at the moment. So that strategy of choosing the best player you could get, and then maybe getting one of the weaker content creators versus picking the strongest content creator, and then knowing you're going to get a professional player that's going to be good no matter what. Yeah. That kind of strategy is the kind of thing we're wondering here. Is 3 really, you know, is a better content creator and having a more cohesive team with 3 good players better than 2 of the best players and then maybe someone who's not as good?
Yeah, and I mean, we even heard it from some of the content creators, right? Like, they have started to feel a little bit more gravitating towards the no-build kind of style, and maybe they might not be, you know, as brushed up on this build mode, but we'll have to wait and see as we start getting into it. There was a little moment there where Vortex was going for a few tags up in the top side up against Good Morning USA. It seems like a few more of these bullets are starting to fly in the northeastern part of the zone. Haven't really been able to connect on any of these eliminations just yet, as we are still sitting with 45 left in the lobby.
Looks like we might have a couple of trades going on here. Overstrain giving himself a bit of space to work with. Looks like they might be getting pushed here by Luda. So Luda getting involved and getting aggressive. Cody. We see some white tags there. NJ getting really pushed hard here. Cody on the aggression.
See if they can connect anybody just yet. Getting these early eliminations
shots there from
and
Cody.
that is the first down there from Cody. And a takedown, NJ is able to confirm it as well. So the first elimination is on the board here for Cody.
Yeah, beautiful stuff there from Luda and his team. Overstrand and Pumpkin deciding to get out of there. Luda, one of the best fighters in the region, and Cody showing off some skill there as well. One of the players who we didn't know a huge amount about, one of these amateurs that we weren't overly sure on his skills, showing he's got it. And Luda here putting the sword to Overstrand. He's going to go down as well. Pumpkin, the only one left up on that team.
Yeah, the Fortnitians, they are unfortunately copying heavy damage here early on in match number 3, and we said they were pretty high up when it comes to the standings, and now Cody claims another elimination for his squad, and that is 2 members going down here for the Fortnitians, and they've only got 1 left in Pumpkin.
But how many points do they get from that?
Very true, they don't get any just yet.
0. You got to remember the 3 points is the, 3 elims is the point threshold. So they get those 2. They make it easier for them to build up points later on in the piece, and they do get themselves some nice loot. They get themselves, you know, they definitely do get something out of that, but they haven't actually gained any points. So that's a very important point to note as Pumpkin survives, and it looks like he'll try and find the reboot at some point later on in the game.
Yeah, interested to see what Pumpkin's going to be able to play here as well. Looks like they're just going to put themselves a little bit on an island, going to head over towards the Slappy Shores as well, seeing if they can try and get this reboot going, as Timmy did just say as well. It's like a few more of these teams are starting to coalesce on each other. Haven't seen too many of these fights just yet.
Yeah, but that trend continuing, right? We're in Zone 2, about to see Zone 3, and we're continuing to go south as Tucklebuckle takes down Realms. Beautiful shot there from Tuckle. Realms taken down. And they're going to continue to push this. They're not even worried about the... No Siphon means they're not going to be too worried about finding that finish. Jackie takes down Musak. A beautiful start here for the respectable Chonkers. That's going to be 2 kills on the board for them as well.
Yeah, and it's big eliminations here for the respectable Chonkers. Be able to get themselves 2 early on here. And again, still haven't hit the elimination threshold just yet. A few more of these members going down, but none of the squads being eliminated just yet.
Yeah, so a couple people going to that... close to that threshold, but not quite hitting it, as we see zone number 3 actually moving towards the west slightly. So we're definitely still south of the map, so still movement for people to make, but actually not too bad. Aside from Vague, Anon, and those guys down south, this isn't too bad. But Tui and Cody getting involved here. Cody showing some serious skill here. Tui taken down, and it's going to only be Faspi and Talon left up in that team.
Yeah, it seems like right now Cody is on a mission trying to get themselves some eliminations here and really start to make their way up the leaderboard. And Grace has gone down here after a little bit of the heroics coming in from Cody. And it's been Dooley who's been able to come back and secure that elimination. Talon goes down as well, so that squad is starting to become thinner and thinner.
And that's four elims. So that's their point. So Luda, Cody, and Grace on the board, but unfortunately it looks like they have lost Grace while they were trying to move through that. It looks like Fastv did survive as well, so they did lose Talon. We did lose Tui, but Fastv survived, so they might be able to find that. And this is what they were fighting over. These caches to make sure that they can have the best loot possible. Luda, Cody, deciding they're wanting to play for that. And again, I want to shout out Cody here, showing no nerves, showing he's happy to go with Luda's. Luda's one of the better IGLs in the region, showing he's happy to get involved and play aggressive.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these eliminations early on, if you're able to eke yourself towards that 7 elimination threshold, that's 3 points that some of these teams might not even be thinking about right now. And if they're able to get themselves higher up when it comes to the placements, that is just scorching your way up the leaderboard. You can see now a little bit more of this rotation is coming in here from our match number 1 winners in the GOATs.
They'll be potentially rotating into Jinx. He's going to try and put some damage down onto them, but no shots connecting there for Jinx. Going to be some relatively easy rotations here. We don't have a very stacked lobby. I've said that quite a few times here. We're not looking at 100 players up. We're not looking at a fully stacked. So you can make extreme, we call them dead side rotations, where you're rotating away from as many people as possible. And so a team at the top, someone like SMA or someone like GOATs, they're going to be looking to play as passive as possible to try and rack up as many of those plays. They definitely wanting to be getting into the top 10 every single game from this stage moving forward. But remember, I was expecting no aggression. But we've seen more aggression in these games than we have from the Zero builds so far, as Radius continuing to stay alive. We've got Fastv alive as a solo, and it looks like Overstrand has got up along with Pumpkin on the map there as well. So a couple of people coming back, but no teams fully eliminated just yet. Yeah, we were talking about Pumpkin being able to make that rotation with the recall. It looks like, as you said, it's been able to get up Overstrand. They were copping a little bit of damage out there in the zone, so trying to make that rotation is going to be hard for them. But early zones here means that the damage isn't going to be racking up all too much. Did see that Radius did have an eye on Tucklebuckle as well. This is the big zone coming in here. We generally see not too bad here. Most people are going to be able to make the next... Sorry, I called that early. The next zone is the big one. That's when we're going to see the hardest rotation for most of these teams coming in. But a few teams here having to make a rotation. We talked about Overstrand and Pumpkin. They're still out in zone there. You can see PW just on the far right side of your screen there. That'll be Pumpkin and Overstrand still in this one. We've still got Radius up as a solo, hanging on, but it looks like Anon has noticed that he's still around. So a couple of teams having to make a rotation, but no one should struggle here. Still not too far to go for these teams. Yeah, exactly, and you can even see one of the stragglers that we touched on a little bit earlier on, Radius, sitting on this southern side, right on the edge of the zone, understands that he does not have to move for a decent amount of time, just try and rack up some more of these points, because those of you playing along at home, there is still 15 squads left in this lobby, so nobody has accrued any points just yet. Nobody has gone begging in this match number 3, and it is still all up for grabs for everybody. And the island has spawned, so the island provides, like I said, the pulse rifle, the best loot you can get on, the best rifle you can get in the game, along with a slurp juices, some of the best healing items you can get in the game as well. So interesting to see who's going to play for that island. It looks like Volks might be pushing for it here at the top left side of the map, but Vindoli putting some pressure down on one of your one of the people on 8 points here, with Suns and Skits taking some damage. Most of these guys pretty happy to sit central map at the moment. Yeah, and there we go. So Volks, Oasis, and Jupiter, the guys who will be taking the island and taking some of the best loot in the game, as Zone 4 will be closed here in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Being able to get themselves in the zone as well, being able to get themselves a whole lot of the loot means that they can just sit back. They are absolutely stacked right now here for Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. Very wonderful name. And we've still got Pumpkin and Overstrand kicking it all the way at the top right side of zone, as well as Radius, Realms, and Museout kicking it here down the bottom left side of zone. Still 15 teams up. I think Fastvi's still kicking it there as a solo as well. She might be looking to pick up some reboot cards. Museout does go down though. Anon takes him down, so they will be aware that there is a full team in zone here, or at least a couple of elims that they might be able to pick up. 0 for them at the moment, and remember, top of the leaderboard as well. Exactly, the GOATs, they're sitting here on the edge of the zone. Radius did a really good job to be able to reboot the rest of his squad, but unfortunately, right now you are being camped by the GOATs that are sitting on top of the leaderboard. Any more of these eliminations, and they're going to start to be able to rack up towards that 3 elimination threshold we talked about. And as you said, right, Timmy, as long as you're just ticking through some more of these points, because they are so hard to come by here in Red Bull High Grounds, it means that if you're getting 1 point, that just puts you a little bit further along when it comes to the leaderboard as well. And we see Muselk slowly start to tick out there in the zone. Yeah, and Realms and Radius happy to move further into zone there to see if they can get away, but we've got 5 seconds here. This is the big zone. This is where we see significant amount of movement required from most teams, and we're going to see it pull relatively central. Not too bad. We've got it. It pulls back, so we see it top. We see at the top of your screen there. Fastfeed, Tui, Talon. They've made themselves back here. They're not looking too bad. Don't have too far to rotate. They don't have too many teams in front of them here. They're not looking too bad if they can find themselves some decent loot. Teams, though, like Realms and Radius, like Anon, they have a long way to go. Hop in a car, they're going to start that rotation, so Radius is going to be stoked with that. But look at the bottom of your map there. We've got Overstrand and Pumpkin.
That is a big rotation.
That is the largest rotation I think I've ever seen. They've decided to wrap all the way around from Slappy Shores, and they're coming through now through Steamy Springs. There's a long way for them to go. Here they are, all the way down by Steamy Springs, coming all the way from the shores. So big time rotation from them, playing really smart. Avoiding as many engagements as they can. Pumpkin, one of the smartest players in the game, proving it here. Avoid engagements at all costs. Let's get our loot up, let's get our mats up, and try and put ourselves in a position to at least get 1, 2, 3 points if we can't come away with some sort of, win condition.
Yeah, exactly. And, the fact that there's still 15 squads left remaining is there's going to be 5 teams that are going to miss out on any of these placement points. We almost got ourselves back up to a full lobby as well, which is kind of ridiculous. And we can see now finally the rotation is coming in. They will eventually get themselves out of the zone. And unfortunately for Vague and Foss, the GOATs, they are under fire right now. They're going to have to spend some of these mats to try and keep themselves alive. It looks like it is Sync and the crew to be able to try and put their pressure back onto the GOATs. See if they can stand up here in round number 3.
Yeah, some good pressure there from Radius. From Sync, Laser, and that crew there. Some good stuff. Looks like we've got a few other teams making their way in. We've got Radius having got his teammates up. Museout got rebooted. We've got Pumpkin Overstrand coming in from the south. And still got Fastfeed, Talon, and Tui playing along here as well as we wait to see where the first half goes. So another massively influential zone coming in here. We've got about 2 seconds, 1 second before that pops, and it goes north. And look who's happy as. We've got Fastfeed, who has done the beautiful job of rebooting Tui and Talon, that she is going to be stoked pulling zone. And it looks like we've got Loser Fruit making their way in fairly easily. Again, not a huge amount to worry about because not too many teams on the map at this stage. But this next zone, where people are based on these rotations, is going to be massively influential.
And you can see some of these rotations are already starting to come under fire as well. A lot of damage that's being able to come in there. It looks like we've got chances here to be able to lay down a little bit of fire. Hasn't been able to find anybody just yet. Unfortunately for Jackson, is able to duck dive and dodge again. Is able to stay alive as well. So the elimination's not going the way here of the Planet team.
And we still see a lot of the strategies that we see from Zero builds in an effort to conserve materials. So you see these guys bush camping, and you see that a lot in Zero builds that people can't find exactly where you are. Luna and his team showing that strategy off there to try and reduce the amount of materials that you use through mid-game so that you have more through the late game, as we see Devilique and last game's winners with Fisher, Spiker, finding their first Elam on the board. They take down, I think that was Oasis that they took down.
So Usos being able to get themselves an elimination on the board here. So again, we're going to drop down to 42 players remaining. And again, it's a little bit of damage starting to go the way here of Usos.
Well, this is going to be a tough rotation here. They've got a lot of people looking at them here. Probably got 2 or 3 teams putting some pressure on them. Nicely done. The Storm is not too deadly at this stage. I think it's only 2 or 3 that it ticks for. I think it might be 2. And then once the zone does close, it goes to a little bit higher. So they can disengage into Storm, but they do get themselves in. No, I was going to say they do get themselves in safely, but they don't. Still lots of pressure coming through here. Devilique trying to hold off along with Fisher and Spiker, but the pressure comes in, but they cop zone. They get a wonderful zone 7 right on them. If they can survive here, we might be looking at another top 10 placement for them here, which could be massive.
Yeah, they're absolutely copying it here from the team that is tied in first in SMA. They're looking to see if they can rack up some more of these eliminations. They're just tearing through the materials that we've got here of Usos. They've been able to do a good job at being able to keep themselves alive.
They got 400 ammo. This will just be non-stop. The pressure will be non-stop. 400 ammo from Suns, and Chances putting the pressure down as well. Devilique goes down. Chances finds that, so Power Chances with 1 on the board. The pressure will be non-stop. They've still got 400 ammo left. This will keep on going until these guys go down or until pressure comes their way.
And you can see the damage is starting to come back here onto Chances as well. And unfortunately for Usos, they are starting to run low when it comes to the materials. As Timmy did say, this is not going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. It is either they're going to get eliminated or they're going to run out of maps. One way it looks like that Skits as well as Suns are going to do their best to score some more of these eliminations.
I want to know how many mats they have after that. That was relentless. The pressure non-stop as some of these teams from the south and west sides do make their way in as we play this a little bit more slowly here. Everyone will get themselves established as we start to move into those moving zones, which is where we expect most of the action to really get started. But Spike has still got 76 builds here. I'm not too sure how. We'll see how long that lasts him there as Laser unfortunately goes down. Looks like Alec was the one that picked that up, but Worthy got the finish there. So Alec finding himself a kill for Flobby, getting themselves at least something on the board, hopefully another couple there so they can find their first point of the game.
Exactly. Still a ways away when it comes to breaking that elimination threshold. Maybe it was a bit of a blessing in disguise that Devalik did go down, being able to loot some of her mats as she went away. So now we see this zone starting to make its rotation. That is a hard shift towards the southern side. Every team has to make their way towards the bottom. And as we can already see on your mini-maps, ladies and gentlemen, Jinx is on the way with the ODM gear. Really wants to put themselves in a good position. This is what you touched on, right, Timmy? It's going to get to these latter stages of the game. And if you set yourself up for success, you can start getting these tags as these rotators come through and be able to get yourself some more of those eliminations.
Yeah, and remember I talked about the bunkers that Tui had going into the end games for the zero builds. With builds, it's all about who can control the high ground. Yep. So I expect to see Suns and Skits be as aggressive for high ground as anyone else in this lobby. So keep an eye out for those guys, but also keep an eye out for Luda. Luda could be thinking, I need to have a win here with 7 elims to get myself back into an opportunity to potentially come away with some sort of win condition. As Realms goes down to Volks in the feed, we might be looking at our first team go out as Jupiter, taking some serious pressure here. Still got 15 teams that remember. We've still got 15 teams left up. Placement comes in once we go past 10 players. So, 10 teams left up. So still so much action to happen here as we move in. We've got 30 seconds for the zone to fully close, and then we go into our first real moving zones where there's non-stop action.
Yeah, this is where it really starts to get spicy, and you start to see a lot of the prowess of these players being able to move and build and keep themselves alive.
Skits is down.
Knocked down. It looks like Alec be able to clean that one up. Some more eliminations, and we touch on the fact that there's still 15 squads alive. A lot of these eliminations are spread out between a lot of these squads as well.
Yeah, and we talk about a team, the strategy of picking Mal, good player, but Volks takes him down. That's a beautiful shot there from Volks. I think he's managed to put some pressure through. As Oasis, Volks, and Jupiter, they are the ones at the moment who are controlling the high ground. It's going to be interesting to see if they can hold that the whole way through. Volks getting aggressive on Alec. He takes him down. Suns is gone. So SMA fully gone from this lobby. No more points for them. Didn't make the top 10. Definitely didn't find themselves 3 elims as well. So Volks, one elim away from that threshold, and no one controlling the high ground at this stage. As our first moving zone takes us out west, we're going to start to see all of these teams move, and keep an eye on high ground because we might be looking to see someone really stamp their authority on this game. Luna, not going to be the one, but it might be Spiker and Fisher. Spiker and Fisher known for high ground in this region. Going to see who's going to be on control of it.
It looks like right now these teams are trying to set themselves up in the best positions. As you did say, high ground is extremely important. You can see Loser Fruit in the gang trying to find themselves a good spot to be able to set up here as well. We saw Good Morning USA trying to get themselves into a position to take control of this high ground as well. As this zone continues to move here, more aggression coming out here from Volks, looking to try and take control once again, see if we can find out on the Loser Fruit.
And Volks starting this game on high ground. We talked about who's going to be aggressive for it. One of the most experienced players in our region, sitting up here on height, no problem whatsoever, happily holding height. He's got the ODM gear to help him get across as we wait and see where the zone goes. We're going back south. A very nice pull for them. They're not going to have to use too many materials to stay up on height. They've got plenty of movement. They're not going to go down to full damage. As Fisher, last game's winner, goes down to Jacko in the feed. We've got 30 players left up. I see Tui there. I see Talon there. We've still got a lot of top teams here in this lobby.
Nobody's been able to get themselves some placement points just yet either, and as we start to rotate through some of these squads, we're getting ever close to that magical number 7. Luda and Cody going to try their best, get themselves an extra elimination. That is going to be 6 on the board. One more to go here for Luda and Cody to be able to stamp themselves full 3 points in match number 3.
But another massive shout out to Cody there. 4 elims for him. Not much known about him when he came in today, but what a performance from him here in Game 3. Foz goes down to Spiker, so Spiker's still playing here. We've got Anon, one of our top teams, still going strong here as well. 30 bills left, but he goes down to full damage. He's going to go down. That might be one of the that could be one of the biggest plays of the game. His team might be going out here before they get placement points. Still 12 teams left up in this lobby. Vague's going to hop in and look to pick up. He's not going to look for the res. He's just picking up extra heals. He's looking to pick up extra mats, and Vague here playing back zone. He's got plenty of heals here. He popped himself a slurp juice. There's going to be plenty of health replenishing him here at the moment. There's no worries for him. There's plenty of pressure still coming down from Jupiter and Volks up on high.
You can see Flobby, they're out of this lobby as well. So with 10 remaining, this is where we're going to start to get into the placement points. Luda's been able to get the magical 7 as well. So he's going to try and find some more of these eliminations, try and play for some more of this placement, because we only have 8 squads remaining left here in match number 3. This is where it starts getting intense, where it starts getting important for these teams as well here, Timmy.
Yeah, very important. I'm wondering, I haven't seen Vague go down in the feed yet, so remember, that is our first place team, and if he can find himself through to that top 3, if he can keep on getting himself eliminations, that could be a massive leaderboard change here as Lockie's going to get pushed in on here by Talon. That'll be Jace, the only one left up. Tui pushing in here as well. It's going to be a beautiful shot from Jace. He's going to take him down, 119 damage. Mooty's still going strong here as well. Jace, he's got 20 HP. He's still going strong here. Top 7 now. Worthy has gone down in the feed to Jinx. Volks follows up on that Oasis. Got Jace on the wall here. Nice hit it from Jace. 130 plus damage. He's going to get that Elim on Oasis. 1 Elim for him. Can he get the one more to find himself that point? Top 6 now on the teams.
You can see how intense it's getting for these teams, and Chase goes down. The final shot comes in there from Volks to be able to collect another on the chances as well. They are on 8 eliminations. There is a lot of points that's coming through.
Vega's still here. That's our top team. Vega's still going. He's had a massive solo run here. Volks having some nice piece control, but that's 2 points for Vague here as he hits the top 3. Vague comes through. Nice wall there from him, keeping the damage away from him. Vague on the other side of this wall. Massive shot on the Luda. Oh, Vague goes down the storm. Beautiful top 2 here for Luda. It's a Luda and Volks 1v2, and Volks will have an 11 Elim win.
Absolutely massive there for Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. What a team that we were able to see there through match number 3. Massive amount of eliminations, get themselves the Victory Royale, and get themselves a whole boatload of points on top of it as well. I mean, going into match number 4 here, I have no idea who's going to be on top of the leaderboard.
Look, mate, 3 different games, 3 different teams getting those #1 Victory Royales. And my lord, that was a crazy end. It just goes to show the difference in the amount of chaos and also the kind of chaos that you're seeing in a game with builds is just on a completely different level to the no-build games.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me going from no build into build is we're starting to see some of these players rack up a massive amount of eliminations. We saw Luda towards the end. He had like 7 or 8 himself. We saw towards the end that Volks was able to get, I think it was, what, 9 eliminations by themselves? Like, you can start to see these top tier players really start to abuse the fact that they are very, very good when it comes to the building and be able to get the eliminations on top.
But a massive shout out to Vague.
Yeah.
You know, when it's him in the feed, you talk about Elims, he actually just survived. It was just a survival game for him. I'm not sure how he did it. I'm not sure if it was through the use of movement or if it was through, you know, finding loot and then being able to keep himself safe through builds. But he got a top 2. That's 2 points. And then whatever Elims he got, it's extra points for him, and that's going to push them up the leaderboard.
And look, you need to shout out to Jace as well, doing work for Unreal Gamers, just staying alive, Elim after Elim, and just unfortunately got done from above. There was just, like, that's what, when the circle gets so tight, you just got this huge, tall tower of just individuals. And I'm like, well, there's not that many people left because Jace is on the floor. Jace can't see anyone. And then you just go right up. You got 8 teams still alive. I think it was like 11 individuals, 11 players. But just, this one was interesting for a whole different reason for the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Timmy touched on, right? High ground is oh so important as you start getting towards those final couple of zones, and we saw that towards the end, just being able to get those pot shots from above, be able to secure a few more of these eliminations. But, I mean, this was a completely different kettle of fish. They still played relatively similar, but we saw, Timmy, a lot of those very long rotations, and as we get towards the latter stages, you really see some of these top-tier players shine. Yeah, you really do. I mean, look, the mechanics we saw from even some of our, you know, amateurs. We saw Cody. Cody coming out here with, I think, 4 Elims.
to come to the biggest land that we've had in how long, as somewhat of an unknown commodity, and show off in that sort of way is incredible. So massive shout out to Cody, him and Luda putting on a bit of a show. But this is what you're talking about. Jace coming in here, putting in a massive shift, winning the ones here against 219 HP. Great shot from him there, takes him down. So it really comes down. And also, just big shout out to Volks here, because the tiebreakers, another thing to keep in mind, right? We've got the threshold for the Elim points, but if you don't have a victory royale, you don't win that. It comes down to total elims. So that the 11 he got here, or this team got here, could be the difference in thousands if they find themselves up in the leaderboard at the end of the day.
Yeah, 11 so many. That's almost as much as the team that we saw with the most elims from the previous 2 games. So overall, that is a great way to jump up the leaderboard if it's needed. And on top of that as well, there was just crazy scenes going down. Building a whole different kettle of fish, as you mentioned. But I just can't wait to see the leaderboard. I can't wait to see the updated leaderboard, because we saw different teams going out early, different teams lasting way longer. So there is going to be some kind of crazy comeback once we get there. But for now, it is time to jump on up to the stage and get Nat T to have a quick chat with the winners.
I do have Jupiter and Oasis here. Volks, he's a little bit shy. He doesn't want to talk too much after just getting 9 eliminations for himself. But Jupiter, how impressed are you with your team? You guys bounced back pretty insane in this build mode.
Honestly, it feels amazing. Like, we made a power play, we got the pulse rifles, and just from there, just played for itself.
Are you a little bit of a team captain? Are you the one doing most of where you should go, what the team plan is, or is it joint effort?
That's Volks over here, but yeah, I'm just happy I can play a part, and try my best.
Yeah, I do actually want to ask, being a bit of an aspiring professional yourself, do you have a lot of joy in playing this LAN environment right now?
Oh yeah, I love it. Like, the competition is amazing, and just the atmosphere, the crowd, it really gets us into it.
Yeah, that's right, Crowd. He's talking about you. Oasis, out of the 3 rounds you guys have played, not just you personally, but out of the 3 of you, has there been a standout elimination, someone that you guys have knocked down over the last 3 rounds that you've personally enjoyed?
They all look the same to me, so I don't see anyone. I just see and I shoot.
I love it. And are you more confident in the no build or the build sort of mode here?
Probably no builds, but I think we excelled in all. Honestly, we tried our best in all of them, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely going to make the leaderboard look interesting. So let's head on back to the panel and see if they have that information.
Look, shout out to Volks. Mr. Anonymous didn't want to be on camera.
Drops 90 limbs, doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
he's in his flow state. He's in his flow state.
Yeah, man just doesn't want to go on camera, wants to focus on the game, wants to keep his head in the game, going into that final game. And speaking of that final game, that is where things could shift. That is where we could see a new winner come up the leaderboard. Who knows? Like, at this point, you're calculating, this team that didn't do super well during the no-build stage, and then you're looking at the teams that did. They were getting knocked out in, like, the top 10, so maybe they got some kind of placement points in there. But, man, it could be anyone's game right now. And that's the fun of one of these events.
Especially because in that last match as well, they got maximum amount of points. They got 6 points out of that. Right. So being able to, get themselves, I mean, at this point, I think 6 points is probably getting yourself in towards the money in and of itself, just being able to get the victory out, getting that massive amount of eliminations. But the fact that I believe the top points was around about like 11, right? After the first 2 matches, if 8. So, I mean, the 6 points even puts you like second. I can't count, Mac. It's okay.
Never do maths on stream.
The fact that, they got themselves the 6 points already means that going into the final match, if they can just get themselves like, 3 eliminations, that just ticks them over and keeps getting them forward. And then at the end of the day, might even crack themselves into a top 2.
Every elim matters. Every play matters. And that's why the Maybelline play of the match was your boy Jace. Man was doing work for Unreal Gamers. And let's have a quick look again. Keeping team Unreal Gamers in it again. You had Muti and Lockie, and you're looking at his mechanics here, just doing work, cracking all these builds, keeping himself alive, and keeping them in the placement points, Timmy.
Yeah, no, fantastic play from him here. You see him take on Oasis here through the mid-ground, but it's all about, again, racking up as many points as possible. He goes into this in-game here with 0 elims. He finds himself another couple, and they get themselves that guaranteed point. So massive work from Jace.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's big the fact that, not only are they showing that they're really skilled when it comes to the competition, but also understanding that they want to play for those later stages when it comes to the placement points.
That was interesting as well. I saw in that replay that he went down. Someone else was eliminated at the same time. It went from 6 to 4 teams remaining in the same tick. So who knows? Who knows who's going to get that that extra little point because
As
top
I said,
five,
I'm not smart enough.
Top 5 is a little bit more. And anyway, look, we need to calculate these points. Luke didn't want to do the maths on stream, so fortunately, it's time for another break. We have one build game remaining here at Red Bull High Grounds. Make sure you don't miss it after this.
A work of art, high tech, so fresh, so clean, yeah. My flow so nice and mean, yeah. I'm known on the scene, yeah. Find me in the back with my pack, with some cash in the air. We don't care, no. We got the bass booming in rare form. Foot on the pedal, you know I can never settle, no. I'm on a whole new level. I take care of my health. I'm gaining all the wealth. Give it all to me. I don't work for free. My entity so full of energy. I know it's meant to be. Will always be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't catch me, no. I'm sideways. I got the fits, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking rich, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking pricey. Too many wanna wife me. It's not the vibe, so I just drive. I gotta keep the pace up. I need to see the pace up. I got a dream, it's coming true. My smile can hold my face up. I gotta keep my weight up. Foot on the pedal, you know I can never settle, no. I'm on a whole new level. I take care of my health. I'm gaining all the wealth. Give it all to me. I don't work for free. My entity's so full of energy. I know it's meant to be. Will always be. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
no breaks here, that's just the basics. Yeah, that's just the basics. No breaks here, that's just the basics. You can't catch me, no. I've been going fast for a while. I'm electrical. I could send it all on a wire. Hit me up if you think that you got what it takes. I need somebody out there's no breaks,
Pop up, go up, we gone, blow up. Stack the plates up on the bar, in the gym, gone hard. Show out, show up, we the next up. Catch our wave, it'll take you far around the world. Send a pull car.
We are back with Red Bull High Grounds. There is only one game remaining for us to figure out who the damn winner is. And I don't know what's going on. We haven't had a look at the leaderboard, but we have calculated everything. And I've added one single person to the desk as well.
I'm back. I just got here.
4 individuals. Xenox better late than never. He's here just in time.
I was just running back to the desk now.
I think I've missed the memo. What's this bomber jacket party? What's going on here?
Did you not get the message in the WhatsApp group?
We're a boy band.
I was there, but you told me you were wearing a colourful shirt. That's literally like black and white. What's going on here?
I don't know, but you're the one that's at least colourful and pretty.
By the way,
we all look like the same.
I'll source a jacket somewhere. I'm sure there's one hanging around the casino. I might just steal someone from the crowd. By the way, we have the post-game results to have a quick look at from the previous game, Game 3. Let's see who's at the top. It is Jupiter, Mars, and Venus with 6 points coming through with 11 elims. Second place for Loco, managing to get 10 elims as well as that second place, puts them with 5 points, which could get them a respectable jump. And then third place as well, respectable Chonkers getting decent placement points, but not more than 7 elims. So they're just sitting there on 3 points, Tim.
Yeah, the big thing to note there, Goats. 2 points for them. So they go to, we know that they're going to go to 10 points.
Ooh, okay.
So it's about how these upcoming teams, so a team like Jupiter, Mars, Venus, how many points they had before, I'm not too sure how many they had, but that is going to be the defining character here. Going to this last game, how close is that leaderboard, and how aggressive does someone might have to be on the Goats?
Well, let's see the updated leaderboard for all 3 games so far. And Goats are still sitting pretty at top. Luke, your prediction, even though it was late, even though you already knew they'd won a game, here we are, 10 points in the lead by 1. Jupiter, Mars, and Venus with that win, shooting them up straight into second. SMA, 1 point behind. Good Morning USA, they picked up, I think it was 3 points from that previous game as well, which means they're sitting here in 7th. So this is anyone's game.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of who can probably still win the actual event itself, it probably goes down to Siphon and Joyous, so the tied 9, so that those group and up can basically get the 6 points and get into first place and be in first place. Whereas if you kind of look at Unreal Gamers, the max that they can get from this final match is 6, which would only tie them with Goats. So obviously for Siphon Joys to end up, and that's a large chunk of the field. That's a lot of the teams with 1 match to go. So for Goats, they're still going to have to finish off all of the good work that they've done throughout the day.
It's kind of crazy that there's, 5 points separating 1 through to 10th. So, I mean, it's basically anybody's game right now. And Goats, all they need to do is start eking a few more of these points and they might be able to get the dub.
I can't believe how many of these teams there. Now, I'm disappointed because I predicted Flobby and I'm sitting down on 3 points, so there's no chance for them to win. So my prediction straight out the window. Timmy, how are you feeling about yours?
I can't even remember who I
Timmy's like,
SMA.
That's really not a good start.
I back him to win,
SMA
but I'm not going to
third.
pay attention to them. You know, it's fine.
No, it was SMA in third. Again, who knows? There's so much still on the table here. 6 points makes a move for a heap of people. That 7 elims plus the win could put anyone up into that top 3, top 4. We're talking about thousands of dollars for these players. So we've got a massive jump potentially happening for any team in that top sort of 5 through 9 range.
Yeah, it's crazy that there is, 2/3 of the field that have a chance to leapfrog everyone and jump up into pole position to take home all the cold hard cash here at Red Bull High Grounds. Of course, we are down at the Star today. It is a very interesting venue. I've enjoyed it. It's colourful. It's pretty. We've got whatever's going on the roof, it's beautiful to look at. The players up on stage, they're beautiful to look at. And look, a couple don't have their headsets on. They're not quite in the game yet. So if you want to make a bit of noise, yell out your favorite creators' names, feel free. But look, there's only one game remaining, so it might be a bit too late to come on down.
Xenox, Timmy, I'm a 20-month sub. Pick
I'm
me.
just here having a good time. Don't yell out mine. Yell out someone else's. Look, either way, we're not too far away from that final game. So Xenox, you've been sitting on the bleachers for that last game.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy what you saw from the first build game, and what are you expecting in this next one?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much as I expected, a little bit more action throughout the mid-game especially, and obviously a little bit more control from some of the players, especially those pros, the ability to get those quick edits in, and from there I think that was a big factor in the entertainment of it. I'm expecting the same in the final match.
Little uwu coming out there from Fasfi.
Don't make it happen, Mac. Don't make it happen.
Look, Luke, you could do one too, couldn't you?
No,
Look, lucky we're not on camera, so it's okay. It won't happen. I won't make you.
That is one thing that I refuse to do. You've made me sing Happy Birthday. You've made me do all kinds of weird stuff, but uwu is a little bit too far.
Okay. Well, also, we got a little surprise for everyone at home that is listening along. We're going to be rocking the TriCast. That's why we've got these 4 gentlemen here. Obviously, I'm not casting. We could do a quadcast, but look, I think that might get a bit messy. I'll let you guys take the reins for it. Timmy, not only is it your first couple of land casts here live in front of a crowd, but it's going to be your first TriCast as well, isn't it?
Yeah, haven't even done one online yet, so...
Well, you don't want to.
Dropping me straight into hot water, so should be a good time.
It'll be fun.
With us goons as well, it's going to be wild.
Plenty of ideas can be bounced around, and I think that's the fun of it too.
One question that I have for you, Timmy, as well, is the fact that, when we looked at the leaderboard and there's only a couple of points separating a lot of these teams, do you feel like that because it is a relatively high threshold when it comes to 7 eliminations to try and get those 3 points, that some of these teams are going to be playing slower again in this final match? Or do you feel like maybe some of these high-tier players are really going to try and put the pedal to the metal when it comes to the aggression?
So I expect to see passive play from teams that are in the top 3 or 4. They are going to want to make sure that they get placement points.
Yep.
I expect to see aggression from players like Luda, from players who are in that sort of 5th through 7th, maybe 9th, 10th range, who want to really try bump themselves up. And you talked about the potential for the guys down to 9th to win. It's not there, but the teams down in 15th, if they have a 6-point game here, they might come into that money making range, into 5th, into 6th, which is still, they're taking something away from the event rather than just the experience. They might be going home with some cash. So we might be looking at some aggression from those lower down teams as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm always excited when it comes into like the final game of any of these BRs is the mentality for a lot of these teams about whether or not, if you know that you're mathematically impossible for you to win the event, are you going to start to hot drop? Are you going to start to try and focus a little bit more on these eliminations? Are you going to try and play a little bit later and just get yourself some of these points to try and get yourself into that lower part of the prize money and at least walk away from Red Bull High Grounds with something?
And look, we've got where everyone have been dropping for the previous games.
True.
And I feel like the players might know as well. So do you think some of those teams up the top are going to get targeted? Do you think some of those teams down the bottom are going to play spoiler? Or do you think everyone's going to, handshakes, do the right thing?
It's close enough. Like we might have seen 2nd place land on 1st or 3rd place land on 2nd or something like that.
Yeah.
If you actually needed to make sure they had a 0-point game. But like we said, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, they can make a 6-point game and actually leap above some of these teams. So there's no real advantage in risking your game off spawn because you still want to make sure, again, it's close enough that someone in 9th can pop up, get 2nd, 3rd, 4th as well. You've got to make sure you get the max amount of points out of this game. You don't want to risk it with getting elimed off spawn.
Look, risk equals reward. So I'm kind of hoping we do get a little bit of early action. Change it up, these games with builds just last that much longer as well. And I'm not too sure how long this one's going to go, but the 3rd game definitely went for a lot longer than the no-build games. So we're expecting a very similar thing here, aren't we, for the final game?
You would hope so. You would hope so.
You'd hope so. But that's what I mean. It could change if everyone drops on each other.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, though. I feel like if you're a top team, obviously you're going to want to avoid that. And if you're a team that still is in contention, right, you want to probably back yourself in. Those top 10 teams that I mentioned, sort of, the ones that are especially tied for 9th, they are in a position where if they win, if they just worry about their own game, I mean, mathematically, it puts them in a really good position to either still get 1st, or at the very least, maybe you finish 2nd or 3rd. So I don't think you would want to compromise that. Maybe if you're a team that can't actually win, like if you get, say, the win in this final game and the 7+ elimination, those 5 teams, maybe they would just aim to just see if they can cause a bit of havoc, maybe get into the money itself, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th, obviously, as well. Maybe those would be. But I don't think it will happen. Everyone's played pretty safe. Everyone's played pretty calm. That doesn't feel safe, though.
That's okay. Look, that's how you build team chemistry. Musalk knows, all right? He's been around. He's been playing Fortnite for a long time. He's been in a fair few of these, you know, pro-am competitions.
Can I touch your mustache?
Well, it's not really on camera, but you've done it, so I'm not going to say no.
It's firm.
But look, have a look again.
He just wanted
at
to
the trophy.
do that.
There is, I saw backstage, there is 3 of these trophies, so they are going home with the pro-am.
There is 3.
And everyone gets to take one home. Everyone that's a winner.
There's
only 3 of those. Look, sorry, everyone got excited for it.
Can I have one?
Didn't mean to get everyone's hopes up.
Am I allowed to have one? I'm not a champion. Can it just say, like...
I'd say you're a bit of a champion.
The caster.
Depends on the
say
day.
That. Huh? I mean, yeah, depends
I
how
feel
I'm
like
feeling on that day.
Timmy's made the biggest effort to get over here, so I feel like we should send one home with Timmy. We'll get that 4th one printed, you know. I'll just get Red Bull on the blower. Hey, can we just get a 4th one printed real quick?
Written on it, just says 1 match Timmy, and then in quotations, no thumbs. Yeah.
I'm happy with that. If I go home with a trophy, I'm stoked, mate.
Yeah. Look, you're going home. Look, you get
you're going
to
home.
cast the... But you are going home at some point.
We haven't even started the TriCast, Mac.
Hey,
you can't kick us off already.
I wasn't saying you're going home now.
Well, you did.
You will eventually at some point go home, Luke.
What if I want to stay here forever?
So, look,
I'm having a lot of fun here at Red Bull High Ground.
There's a hotel here, right? You could stay here.
Technically I could, but I don't know if Red Bull High Grounds is going to stay on 24/7 forever for me.
Yeah, but you said you're staying here, not the event. If Red Bull High Grounds could stay here forever, that'd be great. Have a LAN every day of the week, have a little bit of fun with the trios format. Of course, you know, it is changing up now. This might be one of the last competitive events with trios, Timmy.
Yeah, we haven't, they have vaulted trios, if you guys are unaware. So, yeah, we generally tend to look at duos, and we haven't had a solos event in a long time, so we might be looking at a lot of duos and solos events in the future, but depends on what Epic decides to do with the competitive state of the game moving forward. We never know.
Never know indeed.
Competitive Fortnite is like a box of chocolates, Mac.
Yeah, you never know what you're
going to get.
Well, that's kind of what's happening right now, you know. We're having a good time. Looks like the players, they're all loading in. We're all praying that everyone gets in for the final... What do you mean? Sorry. We don't want all the players to get in. We want to do another lobby reset, huh? Give us another lobby reset, surely. But it sounds like everyone's in. It sounds like we got the battle bus going. We have a 4th and final game here for Red Bull High Grounds. It's build mode. Let's see who takes home everything, the championship and the trophy.
It's the final round of the Red Bull High Grounds. This is it. Who is going to be the champions? The best trio squad that we've got. At the moment, Goats have been leading basically since match 1. Can they hold on in the final match, or will there be a new challenger to take that top spot when it really matters the most?
Boys, we've got about 10 squads here that have a relatively realistic shot at being able to take the championship at the end of today. Red Bull High Grounds has proven that if you are the best in the server, you're able to get yourself towards the top. It is currently Goats sitting on 10 points. So if they're able to get themselves a little bit more of those points, a few more of these eliminations early on, maybe a little bit of these placement points, then we can be starting to look to crown them today. But I think at the end of the day, boys, a victory royale is probably going to put you in that top 4 position for any of these teams that are still in the hunt.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And especially, like we said, when you get through to the end game, when you get through to those stages, if you're winning, chances are you're on high ground. And if you're on high ground, plenty of opportunity for you to get plenty of elims. But we see first zone pulling, and we've got, if we go on past experience, we're going to be going north. And if you're a team who's Volk's 2nd place currently, you are loving the look of that zone. Top left there, you see Volk, Jupiter, and Oasis. They are loving the look of that. Our other teams, Anon, Vague, and Foz, all the way down south there.
And we did get our answer. Final game, no shenanigans, no hot drops, nothing of that to concern any of our top teams especially, but also it means that a lot of our teams towards the bottom of the leaderboard are also just playing it out, which is good sportsmanship. They're not wanting to ruin anyone's day or anything like that. And also, even still, for those teams on 0 points, if you can finish off strong, final match, get 6 points, who knows where that could still put you going into the final leaderboard standing. So yeah, everyone keeps it pretty calm, everyone keeps it pretty quiet. Obviously, like we saw in the last match, expecting that mid game to be a little bit more contested than what we saw in 0 build.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be an interesting fight to see who's going to maybe put the pedal to the metal as we start getting in towards these latter zones, whether or not we're going to see a little bit more aggression out of some of the big players that we've seen so far here. And I mean, even for some of those teams sitting lower on the leaderboard, I mean, as Xenox did say, you get 6 points. I mean, that's going to put you into some money. And at the end of the day, that is what these players are playing for here on the stage. It is all for the glory of the crowd, and it is all for some of that cash holder at the end of the day as well.
50,000 to be exact. 25,000 going to the winners. So we're looking at a $25,000 game of Fortnite here, boys. When you say it like that,
that's a nice holiday.
It really puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
And the difference between first, second, third, 25, then drops to 12, then drops to 6. So it just keeps getting halved and halved. You imagine a team like Goats, they've been top spot basically the whole day. Imagine you come into this final game, you drop out early, you get no points, you can drop from first all the way down at second, third, fourth, etc. So as you said, Timmy, it's a massive, massive game here for a lot of those teams. As I said earlier, basically top 10, you win this game, you could still actually win the whole event. So I think it does mean that teams are obviously going to want to keep it relatively safe, unless you're Jackson here. You maybe try and find some early eliminations with Mao and Alec over towards Muselk's team. They'll get some shots in, build to go out. Mao finds a nice little side angle and actually cracks the armor there of Muselk. Jackson tries to go aggressive, opens it up, nice little switch, quick edit, and actually gets some good damage in.
Now this is definitely a planned part of aggression here. Mao, Jackson, and Alec are landing all the way over at Shattered Slabs. This is a long way away from where they said they're dropping. So this is definitely something they've planned. As Realms does go down to Jackson, that is the first Elam on the board for the game. Radius looking to disengage, and Muselk not too far behind him as well. These Spidey bits of movement, finding it relatively easy for these guys to rotate. Radius potentially looking at an engagement here. He does get an engagement here with Jackson, but he will be looking to take over this fight here.
Yeah, we'll see if Jackson's able to get another elimination here, looking for Radius, who has to try and build this box and try and fight his way out of here. No amount of movement is going to be able to get you away from the ODM gear as well. Alec's going to try and find this fight. Radius goes extremely low, eventually wins the fight, does Alec, and that is the second elimination going the way here of Alec.
And that's the second pro player basically on the team as well, so I think it's only just down to Muselk as the last one remaining for his squad. And unfortunately, really early on in the piece as well, no shield, sits behind the bush. Probably no materials either, only 49 builds, so really not sitting pretty. I think the best course of action is to just hide, see if there's a way in which he can get the reboots, but it's a tough ask, obviously, for Muselk. Not ideal to be fighting this early on, and now we shift over to Worthy, who's basically trying to hunt down Jacko.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more aggression than I thought we would. These teams that are lower down are looking for that 6-point game. They're looking for a big Elam win, and it started off with some aggression from Flobby, a team that Matt called out is not playing as well as he would hope, and they're going aggressive right off the rip as Worthy takes down Jacko, one of the teams landing next to them as well. So some obviously pre-planned aggression from some of these teams lower down on the leaderboard.
Yeah, and I don't think it's too overzealous from a lot of these teams as well, right? Understanding that as long as they go through a certain rotation path, they can catch some of these teams still looting up and be able to find some of these early eliminations. And as we can see, Muselk being one of those players who is the only remaining member of his squad is going to have to try and play the long game here to try and get a few more of these points, as we see Worthy still trying to hunt for an extra one of those eliminations.
No. They are literally chasing him down.
He's got a flat
Muselk,
tire.
though, has been able to at least gain some distance. He's gapped them a little bit, and from one busted up vehicle, now refreshes into a new one, holding on for dear life. Shots out from Suns, but Muselk should be able to get away.
Muselk has done a wonderful job to disengage from there. Skits looking to try and chase him here. They know he's weak. They know he's a solo. They'll be looking to try and
hunting him down.
They really are. There is no mercy here from Skits and Suns. Hasn't seen him hop out. He hops out into another one.
Look at
a beautiful job from Muselk here, looking to disengage.
Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite, Muselk, the champion himself.
Suns is in the car with him. Suns is in the car with him.
Oh, no! Didn't even quite catch that one.
And he's still alive, Muselk, with the beautiful disengage play after play.
There is the other aspect of this as well. It's a lot of time that has been committed from Suns, and they're also now in a position they don't quite have the loot. They've done a lot to actually try and hunt him down, and Muselk still has not been caught. Loses all of his shields, half health. They are still going Suns and Skits.
Yep, Muselk with the ODM gear gets himself a decent amount of distance away from Suns, but unfortunately for him, there's a few more squads that are going to be in front of him. He really does not have much to fight here. He's got an SMG with 41 bullets left and a bit of ODM gear. That is all that he's got. The hope and a dream, and Alec goes in once again looking for another elimination. This time it's Tucklebuckle who's stuck in a little bit of a box, is able to get themselves away, but no, the knock comes in there from Alec. Be able to find another one, and this is going to be another fight once again.
And again, Alec and his team looking to be extremely aggressive to get themselves that guaranteed 3 points from the Elims. But keep in mind, if this is a tight leaderboard at the end and they're in 5th or 6th, the total Elims is what will make the difference potentially between them and another team.
Suns and Skits have finally left Muselk alone, so Muselk has been able to get out alive over towards Frenzy Fields in the storm for now, but Suns and Skits have got a little bit more to worry about to the northwestern side of Mega City. They've got Paladin Amber's team around there as well. Sorry, there's another team close by to them. I can't quite see their names, but they've got themselves back into the action. And the reason why that's quite interesting is obviously they spent so much time chasing Muselk. They obviously had to commit all of their slingers. They don't have quite a whole lot of loot either. They wouldn't have been spending time getting materials. So they've kind of wasted a little bit of time hunting him down, and they don't even get the Elim.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate for them, but this is the fight we started talking about, right? Fissure and Spiker here once again trying to get themselves extra few of these eliminations, but they are starting to be swarmed and surrounded. Goes in with the ODM gear, hasn't been able to break through and get the Elim just yet. That's a nice shot though. Be able to hit there on the Suns, and we will have the small little reset.
Yeah, really, really good counter-aggression there from Fissure, popping out, getting a really nice full shot there onto Suns and Skits, but the aggression is still coming. These guys are in 3rd, and they are playing with pure aggression and pure confidence. This is exactly what you want to see from a team who's in 3rd.
Yeah, back yourself in. Just go for it. Go for broke. Obviously, if you can win from 3rd in the final match, if you can win this game, you're probably a shoo-in for that top spot, especially if you can collect all of the points available. Nice little shot from Suns there. Up close with the shotgun. That's a knock on to Spiker. That will be a flush to follow as well. So the aggression starting to pay dividends a little bit, and they will hunt down Fissure as well as they start slinging. They've got one. They want a second.
I've seen this movie before, guys.
Well, this is, yeah, we've seen this, like you said, but Fissure, this is not a bad player. The amount of confidence he has to go after Fissure in this state, this is incredible.
Yeah, these guys really are putting the pedal to the metal, and as you did say, Timmy, right, sitting in 3rd on the leaderboard, so if they get themselves some Elims, a lot of these points are very, very hard to come by, and if you're taking out big competition, like we've already said, Fisher's able to at least get away for now. As we did see in a little pip earlier on, Muselk has been able to reboot 2 of his teammates this time around.
Ooh.
They are back into the fray.
That's massive from Muselk. So not only does he survive, and he was getting chased down and hunted down, obviously, but now Vendoli, he's also feeling the pain. Death from above here from Luna, but eventually boxed out. Vortex trying to help out as well. Vendoli just barely able to stay in this one. Unfortunately, though, wiped out, and that's a squad wipe as well.
And 4 Elims, that's a point on the board for Good Morning USA. A great feeling for them as we wait and see where Zone 4 takes us. Fissure, by the way, still up in this. So they were one of those teams close. Remember, they had the victory royale in Game 2. So a massive thing for him to still be in this game here.
Yeah, all the way out in the zone as well, seeing if he can get a reboot, see if he's been able to get his team back into the fray. Do you see that the zone has shifted a little bit towards the southern side? Paladin Amber, Suns, and Skits going to be in pretty good position here to be able to catch some of these rotators as we go through, though.
And how about that from Muselk? So now it's up to Radius and Rams. They've got to repay the faith. He's done his job. He's got them back into the game, final match of the tournament. Now they've got to say, all right, mate, thank you very much for that. I will take it from here. And that's got to be the task for them. I do believe CLJ got knocked out. I think Loser Fruit's team also. We obviously have 2 teams that have been finished off here for match number 4. I think it was them, saw it in the kill feed. So on the move now, Muti, you've got Jace and Lockie, and they are starting to get closer to some of these other teams as well.
Yeah, they're making a play for those pulse rifles. Like we've said, power position on the map does not get more powerful than this island. And here they are controlling it. Not only going to get control of the best spot on the map, they're going to get control of the best weapons in the game.
Seems like there's a lot of squads that are starting to gravitate towards this scenario right here, as well as Alex again looking for more of these fights, trying to get more of these eliminations. They've already cracked the 1-point threshold, but they're looking to try and get 3 out of this one. It's the final game, a Red Bull high ground. They want to try and get this. Want to try and get this championship and really take it home today.
Yeah, and Sync looking to disengage here along with Eggman and Laserbeam. But Jackson, Mao, and Alec putting the pedal to the metal. We really talked Suns with a max. Muti goes down, a 200 pump from Suns. Beautiful shot there, takes him out. And a wonderful start to this engagement here, as it will be Muti, Jace, and Lockie that they're going to be fighting here.
Oh, Lockie's just been able to get away. Just finally as Skits got towards the top of the high ground. Lockie jumps down, and obviously only now a duo with Jace. After losing Muti. Oh, never mind. I thought that was going to be enough. Lockie just barely staying alive, 4 HP.
You can see Jace is trying to follow suit as well. They're really just trying to evacuate from this area. They do not want to try and take this fight. We've already seen the elimination start to line up the kill feed already. Lockie, he's so low. He's finally getting that juice going. He's gotten a little bit of these shields. The ODM gear gets away, but it's not enough. And that is the squad gone.
And that is, again, their third and fourth Elam. Another point for that team. So SMA moves into 9, and that is second equal with Volks's team. So things really already starting to shake up on this leaderboard.
And really starting to sort of highlight the teams that are being aggressive here. Match 4, looking to take these contact fights. They're the ones kind of being rewarded. If you're on the back foot, if you're running away, you're not really finding a whole lot of success outside of probably the solo effort from Muzak earlier on. Jackie now getting lit up a little bit by Sync. Sees a couple, though, over towards the other side of the storm on the hill. So he has been able to gain vision of that. Paladin, what can she do here from this distance? 6 bullets still left in that sniper rifle. Alex to not take the shot and give away the position, but Suns and Skits, they've done a tremendous job so far. 4 elims. If they can get 3 more, they'll max out the elims here, and then they'll just need the placements.
And that's when we really start to see these teams rocket up the leaderboard. It was only, what was it, about 5 points separating first from 10th. So I'm excited to see who's going to be able to get more of these points. And unfortunately for Unreal Gamers, they were sitting towards the lower side of the leaderboard as well, and going out early on means that they will go away with a little goose egg. But another fight is starting to break out here. Laserbeam is trying to get on top of Spiker as well as Fisher, who already had one fight that they lost out today, but it looks like Spiker's the one that's sitting here with all the booty.
Yeah, it is. And talk about Fisher and Spiker. These guys are actually in 6th with 6 points. So if they go out here, that could be one of our teams in money that could maybe slide out of that. So massive engagements taking place here.
Still inside of the storm, and in fact going over towards Mega City. That circle, though, has shifted a little bit towards the south. So those teams up towards Brutal Bastion, towards the snow, they are now moving their way down with the storm. Holding the edge is going to be Fall from Grace, Cody and Luda. Laser beam up above. On top of Jackie Bunny's team, Buckle literally tucked in down below, bunkered in. They're going to have to move, though. They move as a team. Not going to want to obviously change things up too much, but so far no eliminations for Sync, Eggman and Laser. And now pushing out will be Jinx, leading the way from the front for Buckle and Jackie. But I can't imagine these two are going to surely not fight here. They're so close to each other.
It seems like they were just respecting a little bit of the positioning there, right, Timmy?
Yeah, that's right. No, they're just looking to claim some space on the map, looking to make sure that everyone knows where they are. This is where we are. Keep away from us at all costs. As we wait and see where Zone 6. This is our first half of all the zones, so it goes down to the eastern side here. So a lot of rotations to make for Loco. That's Luda's team sitting in 5th. He's got a long way to go. We've got Volks and Oasis 2nd place. Currently having to make a rotation from the top left side as well. Suns and Skits, as we know, sitting on that, sitting on the top of that island. So things looking good for them. But a couple of teams who are at the top of our leaderboard who have to make a big rotation here.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to rotate all the way towards that eastern side. It's going to be hard for some of these teams. You can see SMA, they're just trying to hold off on rotating off of this high ground for as long as they possibly can. See if they can get some pot shots. They did do a little bit of damage here. But it looks like we're going to have a few more of these fights as we see more of these rotations coming through once again. This is where Jupiter and Volks, they're looking to try and make a little bit of damage here on Good Morning USA. Haven't been spotted just yet. They don't want to take these fights. Oasis cops a little tag, though.
Another one. Got to be careful. Former winners as well earlier today for Oasis's team. Obviously for Good Morning USA, Luna Chances and Vortex, they've been thereabouts so far. I think they were in the top 5 coming into this final match, so as long as they can finish strong, this could be an opportunity, though, where you're getting to this point of the match. Do you think about getting your limbs starting to stack up? You don't want to fall short at the final hurdle later on. It's not the end of the world if you take these mid-game fights. Volks now has to just bunker up. Shots back the other way after I'm Fall from Grace leads the charge with the vehicle. Probably just a way of just maybe distracting them a little bit.
Yeah, the first half is going to open up here. And you see a lot of teams, as the zone moves into an area that no one else has been in, a lot of these teams like to fill up that space as Anon takes down Amber. I'm not too sure how many elims that puts them on, but that is edging them closer to another point. Very important for that team at the top of the leaderboard is Luda here. He might be looking to get aggressive. Anon's got...
Anon.
He misses the shot there on Alec. Unfortunate for him. He just had the one. I saw that. Oasis down. This is our second place team.
Oh, Luda is looking to try and claim a big scalp here with a few eliminations, able to take down Oasis, so she's not going to be in the server for much longer here in our final match. See if Luda's been able to find anything else. Looks like everybody else from that team has been able to vacate the area.
Yeah, just a cheeky one elimination there. Unfortunately, Oasis just got kind of caught out. Jupiter and Volk's able to at least get away, a bit more of a high ground, and they're a little bit safer. So down to them as a duo. But we know, especially in Fortnite, and it's only trios anyway, that you can do a lot of work as a duo. So it's not over for them two, especially the fact that it is Volk's, Jupiter, very good players. Next circle shift, though, does also still stay around this vicinity. So it's not like they're going to rotate too far. It's staying around the Slappy Shores.
But our current leaders have the furthest to rotate out of all the teams. And could this make a difference? They might be spotted on this rotation. They have to go all the way across from the south-hand side. So keep an eye out for these guys potentially taking damage they don't want to take. There's no way for them to get any further loot. They're going to try and farm up as many materials as they can. But you see Good Morning USA have a good sight line onto them as they come in. It's going to be a little bit of luck whether or not they get focused out as they start to make this rotation. It looks like, though, they're going to be able to get in no problems asked.
Yeah, I thought maybe we might have seen a little bit of an engagement from Usos as they're able to make that rotation in, but looks like they were happy to just take the space instead. A few more of these shots start to ring out here. You can see Suns and Skits really starting to stand up against Flobby. Haven't thrown any of their own bullets their way just yet. And you can just really see that these teams are understanding that they need to try and take these fights. But Radius is able to get the knock there onto Grace. They're able to confirm on that. That's one elimination towards the threshold, and they do get it done.
And this is where you probably get a little nervous, right? 12 teams remaining. The next two teams that get wiped out, they get no placement points. They probably don't have many elimination points to go with it either. So if you're on that precipice, if you're already coming into this match sitting around, 4th, 5th, 6th, and you only need a couple points to maybe stay in the money. But if you go out at this point of the stage, you're probably going to get nothing, right? So everyone wants to play safe. Everyone is probably not wanting to make that first move unless they absolutely have to. I think this next circle, it is basically going to force everyone to start really getting involved.
Yeah, and Luda here, 2 elims for him. Remember, 3 is the threshold, currently sitting in 5th place. So every elim here now is really going to start to matter as our first moving zone has appeared. We're going southeast. We're going out to the water. We might be seeing some interesting zones come into place here, which of course, the better your IGL is in that stage, the better your team is. So yeah. It really, the leader of these teams is going to make the massive difference here as these zones start to move. Not too many people in this zone here, only 30. So this zone shouldn't be too hectic. People will just be feeling each other out, seeing where they are, trying to get an understanding about how they need to make this rotation. It'll be the next one. That's where things will start to break down.
Yeah, you can see already, Good Morning USA, they want to try and keep themselves up on the high ground here, get all that information they can, and then we're starting to get some of these pot shots going as well.
Yeah, and they've got 1 point already this game, don't they? Yeah. Four elims, and only the 1 elim off getting another point. Currently in 4th. That is a mass. This could be mass, but Skits goes down. Skits takes down Luna. So Skits could be making a play for high ground here.
See what we can get done here as well as Flobby. They're looking to try and claim some more of these scouts when it comes to eliminations. They've got themselves 4 as well. Luna gets taken out of the server, so Jackson's able to commit onto that one, and that is another elimination into the back pocket here of Flobby.
Yeah, down to just chances of Vortex now for Good Morning USA. Not too long ago having a pretty good high ground advantage. Towards the low ground, though, we're seeing Fisher and Spike under an immense amount of pressure as well from Alec and Jackson. Jinx also doing some damage towards Radius. He clutched up earlier this evening, but he's not probably going to be able to survive much more of this. So much pressure, trying to do his best, but falls. And unfortunately for Radius, Muse Halcyon Realms, they're out of the race for top 10 in this final match. No points, no placement points for them at the very least. Now over towards Anon, Foz, and Vague. Our leaders, only 1 elimination so far, but they are at least safe for now.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, but Skits and Suns are making the play here. They know they need to win this game, and they're playing for it. Yeah, Vortex down. That is our current 3rd or 4th place team. That is massive. Sync is the one who takes him down. Vortex and Chand is the only ones left up, and Chand is down to at least 50 HP.
Yeah, Vortex is able to be claimed there as well. Jackson goes down. We've lost one of our members from Goats. Foss goes down here. So they are going to be falling back to the powerful duo that won the match number 1 here at Red Bull High Grounds. NJ loses their life as well. Same with Laser Beam. So Jackson is really starting to rack up these eliminations here, boys.
Chances are solo. He's by himself now. They've got at least a couple of elimination points already stacked up, 4 to be in fact. So, it's a solo from here. If you can find another 3 and maybe clutch up, get some good placement points, that could be so crucial for Good Morning USA. For Chances now, it's at solo. 74 builds remaining. This is it. He has to absolutely go massive from here, Timmy.
High ground's changed. We've got Cody and we've got Luda on high ground, currently in 5th place. We saw Skits and Sons in 2nd. They've been pushed off height. We're going to see a massive leaderboard shift here if things keep going this way. Chan's doing a great job to keep on moving his team through here. 4 Elims, like we said, 1 Elim off that threshold, but Luda, we said he was going to be aggressive. Look at him on high ground, controlling the space here. 23 alive here. We're still 1 team off placement points. No placement points being handed out just yet.
Yeah. It's where everyone is now not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to put a foot wrong. If you can get high ground, that's great. If not, bunker down below.
Bassie's been able to take some shots there as well, as we see Spiker and Fisher trying to get some more of these eliminations, and that is an entire team going down. Luda loses their life, and you do not want that. Talon goes down as well here, and we're looking for another fight. Spiker has been able to win that fight on the back of it. It's Suns that goes down, so another one of our top teams losing a member, and Skits, that's the squad gone.
That's our 2nd place team, fully gone outside of top 10 as well. That is massive. Sink goes down as well. Tui finding himself. Elim's in the feed, but Spiker and Fisher making a massive run here. Luda is down. I'm not quite sure who's on high ground at this stage, but looks like Luda, Cody have been kicked off.
Wow. Bit of high ground, at least for Jinx's team. They're the ones that have got control of it now. Cracked though for Anon. Flash has to get those shields starting to regenerate. No more fogs, but you know that Vague and Anon can do it as a duo from here. There's the high ground position for Jinx. Not a whole lot of builds left though for these guys. 31 for the duo there of Jinx and Takubaku. Didn't quite see Jackie's build, but I think she was handing over mats to the others. Only 7 teams remaining. These guys have only got the 2 Elims, but they're getting placement points. 1 more Elim, and they are going to start to really rack up the points.
There's only 12 players remaining as well here, lads, so that means that there's not all too many full squads. This is the only one that is left remaining. It is the respectful Chonkers. They're the ones on the high ground as well. Anon is able to take down another. They're being able to take down Overstrand. And now they're starting to get this game going. They're really starting to bunker down and try and find these final couple of eliminations.
Volks is still in here though. We've still got Volks. That was our 2nd place team. This is going to be a massive switch up here. We've got Volks alive. We've still got Anon alive. It's going to be anyone's game here. Tui's now facing Anon. Anon takes him down. That is massive.
But Volks needs for the goats to actually get wiped out here. He needs them to stop getting points. They really can't get much more. Vague is gone. Volks now up to 4 eliminations. There goes Anon. Maybe there's a chance for Volks and Jupiter to still clutch up to 4 eliminations. 3 trios remain. Almost make it 2 with Tuckle Buckle on the floor. There's just not much more room for anyone to survive. I don't even know who's won it at this point. Volks has got more eliminations. Jinx. Still up? Is it Jinx?
It's Spiker. It's Spiker. He's got 4 Elims, so they're only going to get the 1 point. It's a bit of a heal off here. Jinx has something. He goes down. Jinx with the win.
Jinx, but they didn't get to 5 Elims though. Didn't find the final elimination. That 1 point, how much is that going to make a difference, Luke?
Oh, that's the question. The respectful Chonkers were able to get themselves the final victory royale. They were a little bit lower when it comes to the leaderboard, but boys, we already said it. All it takes is 1 big game.
Yeah, no, massive game there from them. Like you said, what's the difference going to be? With only getting the 4 Elims, you needed the 5 to get themselves 5 points. Didn't quite get the max amount of points on 6. So anyone's game at this stage. Could be Fisher, could be Spiker, could be Anon, could be anyone.
Could be me. Just throw a number outside, and that will be probably the place in that some of these teams.
7. It's a lucky number. I don't know. Either way, welcome back. Congratulations, boys. Great cast. What a bloody thriller of a game to get through for the final game of Red Bull High Grounds. There was just so much going on at the end. You guys could barely catch your breath.
There was a heal off at the end, Mac. I wasn't even sure who was going to be able to get that at the end. I thought that maybe Jinx was going to come around the corner and cop a shotgun blast, but at the end of the day, he had the more HP to be able to stay inside of the storm, be able to get that final victory royale for respectable Chonkers. At the end of the day, I don't even know who wins.
I mean, there were so many storylines there. Obviously, Goats, they were able to have another really good game. Talk about consistency. I think arguably you could label them the most consistent team on the day, but Volk started to put on a bit of a one-man show to towards the end to throw a curveball in, and then obviously, you know, everything was just kind of going on. You were sitting there. I was watching Mac half the time, and he was just like, what is going on?
Like, what is happening? You know, just trying to track down which team's which, looking at the names, looking at the team names, trying to figure it all out. And then Luke was also just sitting there trying to do maths, I could tell, because he looked completely stupefied. But look, we don't need to do the maths. Backstage is going to do the maths. We're going to be able to figure this all out eventually. But look, do you have any standout plays for the Maybelline play of the match? I think, look, while we're going through the replays, let's just relive this moment again.
I think it's got to be Muselk, right?
I was going to call it out too.
It's got to be Muselk. I mean, like, and that was like the extended play of the match as well. It went for that long, but no, a very fascinating game. And obviously, this was a big portion of it, and thankfully for it, because sometimes the very beginning can be a bit slow, but we got the Muselk show, and then Sun's getting in the vehicle and still doesn't find the elimination. Muselk still got away, and then he got the double reboot as well. So, I mean, look, in the replays, we'll probably see it again in the play of the match.
What about you, Timmy? Any standout highlights while we're looking at the replays again?
I don't think we saw a huge amount of it, but there obviously was a struggle for height. We saw Skits and Suns get off height. We saw Luda and Cody get off height. And then eventually we saw Jinx and Tucklebuckle take height. So there was obviously Jinx and Tucklebuckle had a fantastic plan on how they were going to get up on that high ground to eventually find themselves a Victory Royale, but also Volks on low ground. And Anon on low ground. Yep. How far did they make it?
And then you had Suns and Skits, and they absolutely came out of the game. I mean, we saw them obviously trying to chase down Muselk, but that seemed like that was their game plan coming into match 4, lead from the front, see if they can find some eliminations early. And unfortunately, it just didn't quite work out for them. They were actually one of the teams that did get taken down really early in the piece and didn't quite get those placement points. So it was a decent, I give them actually sort of some plaudits for the courage of just saying, let's just go for it, but it did backfire a little bit.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me for SMA is unfortunately they didn't get any points in match number 3, so that probably kind of forced their hands a little bit, being like, we need to try and get some more of these elimination points early on, take down some of these teams that are starting to creep towards us when it comes to the leaderboard. Yeah. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, it just didn't work out for them to get the placement points, but I mean, it was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch indeed. Look, standouts for me were definitely, you know, the Muselk car play, but then also just towards the end, just everyone was able to stay alive. The fact that the circle closed and we still had, what, 3, maybe even 4 teams alive, and then it was a heal off, it was people shooting at one another, elims aplenty, and then, you know, some of the teams that needed the points, you saw them get just into the single point, getting those 3 elims as well. So anything could happen. And look, to keep it all obscure as well, we're not going to be looking at the leaderboard before we announce the winners. So it's really up in the air as to how that one's gone down. I'm sure there's some armchair analysts at home that are breaking it all down, crunching the numbers, but I'm just saving myself to figure out who it is.
I think the biggest thing is, yeah, we can sit here and we can try and calculate points off eliminations, but we don't really know where they ended as well. And especially in some of those chaotic situations, some of those placement points can go from you either getting yourself 2 points or 1 point, and then at the end of the day, that 1 point can mean you're somewhere from 10th, maybe even fall out of the money for some of these teams.
No idea who came third. And that's the difference maker there. Who came third? Who came fourth? That's 1 point, and that could be the difference between $25,000 and $12,000.
Yeah. I mean, I already know who's won.
All right. No, you don't.
I worked it out. I don't know who's...
Don't spoil it for everyone, because I don't know. I don't want you to tell me. I'm going to wait till I get my little card. I'm going to wait till we receive, you know, the fancy envelope, which I'll, you know...
There's a fancy envelope?
Yeah. Well, there could be. I'll just fold up a bit of paper and think, well, look at my fancy envelope. Either way, it is time for the Maybelline play of the match.
Muselk.
And we called it. It was Muselk with the car ditch, the car pickup, the car swaps aplenty. Jumping out of one, jumping in another.
Yeah, it was like three swaps followed by some ODM disengage, and then somehow stayed alive after encountering 2 separate teams and then got the reboot.
And
that was unbelievable.
Shout out to those teams for chasing him for that long. That was a marathon in itself.
And I think the fact that we saw Suns and Skits do almost the exact same thing to Spiker a little bit later on, who actually survived really, really long in that match number 4 as well.
They came second.
Yeah, if they were able to get that elimination onto Spiker early on, then maybe this might be a completely different conversation.
I want to know the comms in what and how this was happening. Is Radius and Realms just like, oh yeah, do this, do that, go there, or is it all just Muselk the whole way through? I'm not too sure, but I'm sure they would have had some input, and I'm sure they would have been wrapped with that. And when they get rebooted back in, full team back alive. So yeah, that was definitely. I think that was honestly play of the day.
Now, yeah. Did you manage to track Muselk's team long enough to figure out if they got more placement points off the back of that, or was it just
I don't think they did.
The action sequence itself?
We can guarantee Spiker did. Spiker keeping himself alive as a solo, got the reboot. Him and Fisher coming together as a duo in the end game, got second. Massive plays from them. So maybe not Muselk, but definitely another play similar. It was cool.
Well, do we want to speculate? Do we want to speculate who the winners could be? Do we want to ruin it for it? No! It's everyone but you.
Do I have to put my caster license on the line?
Are you happy with your prediction? Do you think GOATs are still in the running?
I think GOATs are definitely top 4.
Okay.
I'll say that with confidence.
I think it comes down to Elam tiebreak.
Ooh, okay.
Elam
tiebreak. I think that's a good thing.
And
I've
I think
got the tiebreakers right here.
Volks wins.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I will
Timmy
say,
just put out like the most hectic prediction ever, and I was like, yeah, I think GOATs is top 4.
Just
all I got.
in case we do have tie breaks, I'll read them out again. I have them right here. So it will go between total victory royales as the first tiebreaker,
So
total
1 each.
eliminations during the event, so every E-limit mattered throughout the 4 games we played, average placement across all matches as the third tiebreaker. Fourth tiebreaker will be total time spent alive, which can be a lot. And then look, if all else fails, somehow that is all equal across teams in a tie, then we go down. Pretty much, it's a coin flip. We'll go to a coin flip as the 5th tiebreaker if we need it.
Judge's decision.
Who knows? Judge's decision? Yeah, this team looked better. I liked them in their Maybelline a little bit more. Now look, I think.
You think?
I think sometimes I don't think. Like right now, I didn't actually think of anything to say, but you
didn't get my prediction. You didn't get my thought who.
I don't want you, just in case you're right. I don't want you to be right more than I don't want you to spoil it for everyone, you know?
I don't actually know.
Oh, you
think
don't?
I can do math?
Oh,
I'm
well,
a
tell me what's
caster.
your prediction then.
I have a feeling about GOATs.
You think it's GOATs?
You can't take my predicted team. You can't do that.
I did.
You have to be somebody different.
What?
Who was the second place team?
Good Morning USA.
I think.
Or maybe Jupiter. Jupiter for second. Good Morning USA for third.
SMA was up there too, right? Like
Yeah, but
lasting pretty well.
I don't think they got too many points in that final game.
Okay.
Which is a little unfortunate. Maybe they eked out 1. With
Oh yeah, they had a
evens?
few, yeah, but I think we'll see Spiker Fisher.
Is there a chance that respectful chonkers were far enough up that they could do it?
I think they ended on a certain amount of points. Not possible.
Every team ended on
Are
a
you just
certain
going to
amount
start
of points.
naming all of the teams?
Look, while we're here, while we're chilling, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, we said that there's plenty of trophies out the back. Why don't we just give them all out?
So all I'm saying, there is plenty, as in 3,
No,
and there's
3.
many people in the hall, so we can't give them all out. We can't. There's only a limited amount of trios up on the stage, Luke. So not everyone's a winner
Why
because
would you have
took
more than
part
3
in Red
trophies?
Bull High Grounds, but
I don't
everyone's
know.
not a champion.
Be nice.
Let's put it that way.
Everyone's a champion in my eyes.
Yeah. Everyone's a winner. No, it was a great event, honestly. We've been having a lot of fun. I feel like it's over, but it's not yet. But
It's not yet.
obviously-
we still need to crown a champion, Xenox.
I have not
I know,
received.
well, he's making his wait so long.
I have not received word yet,
Oh,
which
you
means
have.
we
Oh,
might
yeah,
actually
right.
be going to the point of tiebreakers and double checking stuff. So
Well, I could
I'm not
imagine the
just filling
admins out
for
the
no
back
reason.
just being like, please keep talking. I need to do these tiebreakers. Someone's counting the time alive with a stopwatch, just watching every game.
I need to point out as well, at the start of the day, I did say whoever did the gritty first got a free Red Bull, and I hooked him up. I hooked him up. He enjoyed his Red Bull. You know, that was before, you know, the whole mishap that happened. And that's
Do you want to give out more Red Bulls?
But we could.
Are we going to get people in the
we
crowd
don't,
to
we
do
don't have
gritties?
the, look, the camera's all set up for the winning moment, the thing, because that's not too far away. Hopefully. We might actually be doing, you know, coin flips out the back. You never know. We could
Now,
go
surely
to a
that's
coin
on
flip.
stream.
Yeah,
surely that has to be on
I
stream.
feel like
On
that's
stream.
something at
A
least gets
25,000
recorded.
coin flip.
Well, it's overall, it's like 12,500 difference, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that's the difference maker.
And also, trophy or no trophy. So that's a pretty important coin flip.
Look, I need to ask, before, of course, we get down to the wire with everything, has everyone that's been here in the arena had a lovely afternoon of Fortnite? How good. Everyone's had a good time. That last game was insane. I'd like to quickly thank you all for coming and, you know, not only sitting with us, not only staying with us, but enjoying Red Bull High Grounds. It's been fun here on the desk. It's been fun sitting in the crowd, watching the games as well, with all the patrons here that have come down. You know, shout outs to Red Bull for putting this on for everyone, and everyone else behind the scenes working really hard on this. Obviously, still working really hard at crunching numbers.
They're still working. They haven't
Keep
stopped.
it going, Matt. Keep it going. You're almost there, buddy.
Does this go? I feel like this means it is going to a tiebreak.
It has to be. There has to be like at least 2 tiebreakers that it's gone to at this point.
Yeah, because we got to calculate all the way down to 6, don't we?
Exactly.
So there's a
Guys,
few tiebreaks
Like it
involved.
is separating everybody.
The calculations have been done.
Oh,
we have
yes.
the post-game results, not the leaderboard, but that game's results. Let's have a look where everyone's sitting in tied first place. All right, we got the respectful Chonkers with the victory royale, tied up with Jupiter, Mars, and Venus on 4 points. Usos, Goats, 0 chances, Lachlan wins, Flobby, and Good Morning USA. A 5-way tie for third on 3 points. Only 2 points for SMA. This is such a low-scoring game.
I think we're going to tiebreak.
Wait,
I think we're going to
I think
tiebreak.
looking at those numbers, I'm doing some quick math in my head, and yeah, there is some deep tiebreakers here, and I think it might even be tiebreakers all the way down to people getting money and not getting money.
Yep.
And
I think it's
how many times have we said today, 1 point's going to make a difference?
Oh, this final game, the fact that nobody got like a clear 6 in the final game, I think that means that anywhere from first down to I think like 12 is
Imagine
gonna
you're
be wild.
SMA and you miss out on like top 2 or top 3 by 1 point, and that's 1 point because Muselk got away.
Because you didn't get Muselk.
Imagine.
Suns missed those shots.
It was such a low elim game, a low scoring game. Like as the final one means, no one's jumping anyone. Like that leaderboard, the way it looked, could be what it looks like at the end of it.
We saw it as well pretty much in every single match, right? So I wouldn't get too upset just because the final match, maybe you missed out on 1 point here or there. We saw it all the way back towards match 1 where maybe, they had 4 elims. They didn't quite get to 5, for example. So I think there'll be a lot of teams that could probably be in that category.
Yeah, well, in game 3, we had 3 separate teams on 6 elims.
Yeah.
Not sure who, if any of them were part of, potential tie breaks, but that could be the difference. Is 1 elim for $12,000.
Guess what?
What?
I've received word.
Oh,
I have received the card.
No.
Oh.
Is it an envelope?
It's right. It's not an envelope, but it's close enough. Look, I'll pretend to pull it out. Either way, we have a winner. The Red Bull High Grounds champions of 2023 are Jupiter, Mars, and Venus! They did so much work. You theorized that Volks pumping through the end game did so much, did just enough that they were potentially going to be the champions, and they've made it the whole way. Volks, Oasis, Jupiter Mechs, these 3 individuals put in so much work today. Humble through the no build, but managed to pull it back through the build stage. It is time to crown your champions, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus!
Well, congratulations, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. Obviously, you guys are also going to be taking home $25,000, so big congratulations. And look, folks, I got to do a little bit of interview, okay? At least with all of you guys, because, all right, don't behead anyone. All right, come on. You escaped the interview last time. This time you're not going to do it at all, but you absolutely clutched it up. If you didn't know, you guys won by a difference of 4 eliminations. So, Volks, how you clutched it up in round 3 and round 4 was massive. So how did it feel playing those ones and knowing how close it was now to get that win?
Well, it was pretty, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie, at all. Fucking hell, my heart was shaking. I was beating, bro. But no, my teammates are clutch, and I'm proud.
Yeah, and how does it feel to be doing it in a LAN environment in front of everyone here at the Red Bull High Grounds?
I thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. You guys are legends.
Now, Jupiter, you had a little bit of a banter with me after that last interview, and you said, I'll be seeing you on the stage. Did you actually have that much confidence in what your team was going to be doing in round 4?
I don't know. After that game when we won, something clicked inside of me, and I just thought we were going to win. Had it in me.
Now, a couple of days ago, when you were drafting this team, were you expecting to be up here? How was the process for you on drafting that one?
I don't know. I just picked Volts as he's the best, and I was just hoping he'd do well, but to win it exceeds all my expectations.
100%. And of course, Oasis, leaving the best to last over here. My goodness, you supported the heck out of your team, but your builds were fantastic as well. So how does it feel to be taking home that $25,000, a share of it, as well as being a champion?
Shout out to my mom and my dad. Shout out to everybody who came today. It's amazing. I had an amazing day. Thank you so much to Red Bull as well. Thank you everybody that came, and yeah, thank you for supporting us. I had an amazing time. I hope everyone has a wonderful night tonight. We're gonna go out and party, so I'm excited.
Look, it's great to hear it, but I want to hear it from you, crowd. Give it up one more time for Jupiter, Mars, Venus, your Red Bull High Ground champions.
So wholesome, Oasis, thanking mum and dad and everyone else as well. Volks, look, he was camera shy when they got that victory royale earlier, but even though that one went through, look, nice little interview at the end to chat with them all. They were all very happy, and that's a lot of cash to be taken home as well. Timmy, you called it while we were discussing it. Mate, Volks pulled them through.
Yeah, a little bit of mental maths coming in clutch there. But no, and you think about game 3, 11 Elam win. That made all the difference. It came down to the win, but it also came down to the amount of Elams they had for that. So wonderful game from those guys, and massive congratulations to the 3 who won. Obviously condolences to Goats, not quite pulling it through on the tiebreaker, but still an amazing day from them.
This is also, yes, it took a while. I also got confirmation why it took a while, because there was apparently a fair few tiebreakers that they had to break up, which is why, you know, they were double checking, triple checking, making sure there wasn't any mistakes. And once that leaderboard is all updated, everyone will be in the right positions, so everyone should be getting, you know, the appropriate amount of money for the placements that they get. But look, I'm guessing that it's not just a tiebreaker for first. I'm going to guess that there's a tiebreaker, you know, from second all the way down into sixth, because that was the thing, right? You saw the leaderboard, you saw the scoreboard rather after game 4. It was like 4 points first.
Yeah.
Was it 5-way tie for third? Like, I've never seen that. I've literally never seen that. That's crazy to me.
I mean, it's one of those things that we touched on it throughout the entirety of the day, right? The fact that a lot of these matches are low scoring, and we're able to get that big 6-point buffer. It means you're able to get yourself towards the top of the leaderboards early on. Some of those teams are able to hold that lead. Some of those teams are able to get it towards the end, as we see here, our champions be able to get that match 3 victory royale and then be able to clutch up towards the end as well. And I think this has just been a good day all in all to be able to show the talent we've got here in Australia and New Zealand, and be able to show these players that, you know, being a little bit of an extra versatile when it comes to no build and build means that you can be a champion.
In the end, I remember back at the very beginning in our pre-match discussion, at the very first desk that we did, and the topic was, you want to start well, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world because of the point scoring system. And I think in the end, for Jupiter, Mars, Venus, that really did ring true, and we saw it all the way down to the final match with the efforts from Volks. And that's the beauty of it, is that you can't obviously just sort of count yourselves out. Oh, we had 2 poor starts to begin with. That's it. That's us done. No, this point scoring system allowed these teams to get back into it towards the end, and that's why obviously it ends up being a pretty exciting finish, which is not always the case when it comes to Battle Royale. Sometimes we get down to that final match and there's probably not a whole lot to play for. So that was the beauty, I guess, of obviously only having so many matches, but also the point scoring system that we had.
That's it as well. Look, a 4-game tournament means there's going to be tiebreakers all over the place. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe some teams would usually be better than others and, you know, win a couple of games, but it kept it very close today, and it makes Red Bull High Grounds 2023, you know, the first Fortnite LAN here in Oz for a very long time, extremely interesting.
Yeah, it sure does. And there's going to be, like we've talked about, there's going to be tiebreakers all over the shop. But Spiker Fisher, second place in that last game. Where's that going to put them? Chonkers, first place with a few Elams. They were down with 5 points, I'm pretty sure, down and around that sort of 8th, 9th spot. Where are they going to be with 9 points now? The Fortnitians had a decent game. Tui had a half-decent game. We saw him in the in-game as well. Luda, we saw him on hide at one stage. So there are going to be a fair few tiebreakers sort of as we've sort of worked out, but it's going to be very tight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that there was, you know, going into that final circle as well, there was 11 teams. Even though that final game was different to the first build game. First build game, it was like 45 for ages. Kept getting a couple of reboots, people getting picked back up, and you saw for the first 10, 15 minutes, there wasn't actually that much action that happened. Yeah, there was, you know, a couple of pot shots going on, but, you know, in this game, there were some teams going really hard, real early, you know, putting their lives on the line.
Yeah, I think it was also interesting to see how some of the individual players played towards the end of that match number 4 as well. I think we got, there was like 6 squads left remaining and like 8 people left alive in the game. So there was a lot of these squads were dwindled down to 1, you know, maybe even 2 members, and be able to clutch up and play together as a team and be able to have some individual brilliances. And I mean, at the end of the day, they came here to compete. Maybe there may be a few points separating you from being in the money and being out of the money, but I think at the end of the day, they all had fun, and that's best.
Yeah, that's a good thing about trios as well, is that really even as a solo, you can still do really well, but if you lose one early as a duo, you can still definitely have a really solid game. I think we saw that in a couple of matches today, so and obviously all the way down to Volks towards the end there being a big highlight. And we saw, I think it was Radius in one game as well that clutched up, got second place as a solo. So obviously our pros really shining through at their capabilities and what they can do in those kind of clutch situations. They obviously lived up to the hype and did their job. So it makes it always fascinating to kind of see. And that's the beauty of Pro-Am, right? Seeing the pros and how they differ to those around them and how much they can really shine.
Yeah, it felt like, a lot of the highlights were coming out of the pros, but there was also the amateurs who were definitely...
Some of them, they played extremely well today.
Some of them were going crazy, and even some of the content creators as well were doing a really good job today. So look, shout outs to everyone for coming down to the Pro-Am. Potentially the final trios tournament that we are going to see in Fortnite for a very long time. And this trio as well, you guys killed it too. While we got a little bit of time, they're still making sure everything's sorted on that leaderboard. That TriCast, did you enjoy it? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I think that was awesome. I think Timmy definitely carried us through a lot of those matches as well, being the big Fortnite buff. But
Board's ready. Let's see who's where and who's coming from first to sixth. Who's in the money? We got Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. 13 points. Ghost, 1 victory royale. 18 elims, 13 points as well, coming in second place. Good Morning USA in third. SMA in fourth. The respectful Chonkers with that win, jumping up into this three-way tie we have from fifth, sixth, and seventh. Uso's in sixth in the money, and that means 0 chances Lachlan wins. Just barely got edged out because they didn't have a victory royale.
And Muzak has cost SMA $4,000.
Oh, yeah, he has.
He has. Oh my God.
No, he actually has. 18 elims there, the difference, like you're saying.
Yeah, and that would have obviously got them into sole third. So for Good Morning USA, they'll finish off in third because of that, how close that is. And obviously for 0 chances Lachlan wins, as Mac pointed out, you get the same amount of points as fifth and sixth, but you don't get any prizes.
Yeah, tiebreakers can be a cruel mistress sometimes, but they can also work in your favor if you're able to, be the one that comes up trumps for them. So, I mean, at the end of the day, victory royale, especially when we're talking about any battle royale, it is all important to try and get those dubs on the board because most of the time they're going to be the thing that's going to win you these tiebreakers.
Yeah, that's insane how many tiebreakers there were. Obviously, the thing where it got difficult would have been Good Morning USA and SMA. So, like, overall average placement, I think
that's
what
right.
would have done. And then imagine if that was even as well, it might have gone to time. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe there was a coin flip. We don't know yet.
Yeah, so we're not quite sure what the average placement of those two teams was, but that's what it would have come down to. So it might have been the difference between getting elim early for one team and not for the other.
Yeah, it's insane. And look, with that being all said and done, that brings us one step closer towards the end of the day. Gentlemen, do you have anyone you want to thank before we close up shop?
I want to thank you, Mac, honestly. I don't think you've been given much of a plaudits. You've done a tremendous job today, so thank you. Thanks to Nat as well, obviously. Yeah. So she's done a great job, but obviously a big shout out to Red Bull. Obviously without them we couldn't put this on. They have all done a tremendous job. It's been a well-run event, so it's been nice and smooth, and obviously it's been great to have Timmy on board because he does bring all of those insights. As for Luke, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I was here. But, I mean, that's
Luke,
all
would you like to thank Xenox for such a nice little word?
I mean, I would have if he was a little nicer to me throughout the day, but that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to thank Timmy because Timmy was actually somebody who I enjoyed working
Timmy.
with.
We love Timmy. Timmy, anyone you want to thank before I close the show?
Big shout out to Maybelline and AOC, obviously, for helping us out as well, but big shout out to Red Bull for helping put this event on, making an awesome stage, keeping everyone excited and amped up, and Mac, awesome presenting as well, and obviously Nat, great stage host.
Also, shout out to the crowd for being super excited all throughout the day. Obviously, with the delays that we had, thanks to everyone for sticking around and making it fun.
Yeah, everyone that I wanted to thank has already been thanked, but I'll do it anyway. Look, shout outs to AOC and Maybelline for sponsoring the event. Shout outs hugely to Red Bull for putting the event on. Without them, there would be no event, there would be no crowd, there would be no creators, players, pros, AMs up on stage, having fun. I've had such a great day. I would love to thank you all for tuning in, watching the broadcast, joining us in this experience, in this fun day of Fortnite. Thanks again for Epic for making the damn game. And look, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, thank you for joining us. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next time. Red Bull High Grounds, it's been fun. Look after yourselves.